Dragon Ball Super Exposure. I am a Super Saiyan. Chapter 41-60. Chapter 41-Vegeta Fiasco. Goku appears. Under Hit's powerful attack, Vegeta turned out to have no resistance at all. Everyone was in a cold sweat, especially the friends in the 7th universe. Super Saiyan Blue is the most powerful form they have ever seen. Except for the God of Destruction, no one has ever been able to win. I didn't expect that even Super Saiyan Blue can't fight against Hit. How powerful is he? Wukong asked Shang Luya. Can you see Hit's movements clearly? Luya shook his head. I can't see clearly for the time being, but his attack has surpassed time. Beyond time. Wukong was puzzled, apparently hearing it for the first time. Luya is right, Hit's power really surpasses time. But this is not his own power, but what he cultivated, which is his skill. Let's put it this way, he can predict the opponent's 0.1 second. Afterwards, he used time to travel to another parallel space, so Vegeta's attack didn't work for him. Whis suddenly explained. Beerus glanced at Luya lightly. You know a lot. Luya smiled slightly, and then said, I can only say that I am very knowledgeable. Beerus. Luya, since you know the opponent's skill, can you crack it? Wukong asked. Luya thought for a while, then looked at Wukong, and said, Hit's attack is called Sheshi, which means that he can hide in another space the moment before you attack him. But in reality his body is still there, but he can't touch him, but he can give you a fatal blow in the next second. If you want to crack, then you can only predict his prediction. Hearing this, Wukong fell silent. And Whis and Beerus looked at each other. Their eyes were a little dignified, because they found that this guy named Luya seemed to be more and more mysterious. Even the Flash knows it. Weiss, with the level of civilization in our universe, can this guy appear? Beerus asked with some doubts. Weiss shook his head. I don't know, but basically there is none, but I don't know his origin either. Beerus was silent, then looked at Luya, his eyes narrowed slightly. Luya obviously also felt Beerus' gaze, and his heart tightened. Nima. It seems that I still have to keep a low profile, no more spoilers. Ah, I understand. Wukong suddenly exclaimed in surprise. What do you know? Luya looked at him. Wukong smiled confidently. Later, just watch me perform. Luya. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. On the field, Vegeta was still struggling. He kept a distance from Hitler. The opponent's attack was so weird that he couldn't even see the movement clearly. It was as if the other party was in front of him originally, and there was only an afterimage in the distance. Weird. What's even more strange is that Vegeta couldn't touch the opponent's body. Seeing that he was about to hit the opponent, he jumped straight from the opponent's body and was beaten by the opponent. Strangeness. What are you doing in a daze? Hit said, and he was already in front of Vegeta, punching him. Vegeta wanted to defend, but was not accidentally punched in the stomach by Hit. Under the pain, Vegeta forcibly held back the pain, revealing a cold glow in her eyes. It's now. Snapped. Vegeta grabbed Hit's arm, and then punched the other hand directly. Bang. Woohoo. But the strange thing is that it is Vegeta who punches. Vegeta's eyes widened because he couldn't see Hit's speed at all. After receiving 2 punches in a row, the fist wind poured out from behind Vegeta's body, and the next moment, he directly dissipated the Super Blue state. He has been seriously injured. It's impossible to keep the Super Saiyan Blue at all. Vegeta is down. The whole place went quiet. Everyone was stunned to see this scene, and they did not expect such a result. Vegeta lost. Everyone in the 7th universe was in disbelief, and their mouths were extremely dry. Wukong's face became solemn. He really didn't expect the opponent's hand. Luya also closed his eyes slightly. He was not surprised by this result, but it was a pity, because in terms of combat power, Hit was not much stronger than Vegeta, but when Hit would dodge, he caught Vegeta by surprise. In this way, Vegeta is his opponent at all. Vegeta from Universe 7 falls to the ground. Hitter from Universe 6 wins. The duel ended as the referee drank. Hit glanced at Vegeta, and then said, "You are the first person to be able to take so many punches from me and not die." After saying that, he turned and left. Vegeta's face was ugly, but he couldn't stand up. Swish. Goku appeared next to Vegeta and took him back to the auditorium. Bulma hurriedly asked Krillin for fairy beans to feed Vegeta. After eating the fairy bean, Vegeta was resurrected with blood. His face was a little gloomy, and he was a little shocked. When Wukong saw this, he immediately said, "Okay Vegeta, that guy Hit is really powerful, even I can't see the other party's movements clearly." "Huh, guy, I will definitely not lose to him," Vegeta said coldly. Wukong laughed, and then said, "Okay, I'll be the next match." "What?" Vegeta was stunned for a moment, then looked at Wukong. "Isn't Luya going to the next game?" Luya shrugged. Wukong laughed. "I exchanged with him. I also want to fight with Hit." Vegeta pouted. "Whatever you want." Wukong waved to everyone. "Everyone, I'm going." "Come on, Wukong." Krillin and others cheered. Wukong smiled slightly, then jumped off the ring. On the other hand, Hit also fell into the ring. The two looked at each other several meters apart, their eyes serious. "That guy Goku, is it really okay?" Beerus asked in a complicated way. Whis, who was on the side, smiled lightly. "Isn't there Luya and Monaka, the #1 master of the universe after Goku's defeat?" "What are you panicking about, Lord Beerus?" Hearing this, Beerustin's face froze, and then he said a little embarrassedly, "Actually, Monaka is not a martial artist, he is just a courier in the universe." I said this on purpose to stimulate Wukong's fighting spirit. Yes, it's not that you don't know Weiss. Ho ha ho, it seems that you are going to miscalculate, Lord Beerus. If Goku loses, I'm afraid no one in our 7th universe can stop Hit. Weiss said gloating. Damn, Beerus was a little annoyed. Piccolo, who has an unusually strong ear, overheard the conversation between the two, and his face turned green with fright. Has co-authoring Goku almost become their only hope for Universe 7? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at Luya. Is this guy for real? P.S. Brothers, cherish this day of renewal, me. I'm dying. Do you have anything to say to me? Chapter 42 Find Flash's weaknesses. Everyone was shocked. In the field, Wukong didn't act immediately, and didn't turn into Super Blue at the beginning, but stared at Hit closely. Hit was expressionless, he was waiting for Goku's shot. The two confronted each other, and the atmosphere in the field suddenly became tense. Everyone watched this scene with some nervousness and anticipation. They really wanted to see the wonderful duel between Goku and Hit. Humph. Play tricks. Saiyans can't win Hit at all. Our 6th universe is the ultimate winner. Shankar couldn't help but sneered. Shut your mouth. I can't tell what happened now, open your eyes to see clearly. Beerus said in a low voice. Humph. Although Shankar was upset, he didn't act too much. In the arena, Wukong's face suddenly relaxed, then he looked at Hit and said with a smile, I'm sorry, I was looking for your weakness just now. That's why I didn't shoot. Hit was stunned for a moment, and then said, You are quite honest. Wukong put on a fighting stance, and then said, Okay, now, let's start the fight between us. I can't wait. Hit said lightly, Can't wait to lose. You decided that you can't win against me. Wukong smiled slightly. Who knows? Maybe, I can find your weakness. Hit looked at him and then said, Stop talking nonsense, come on. Saying that, Hit poses, still the most simple and ordinary pose. But Wukong narrowed his eyes slightly, and then he sighed. As expected, there is no weakness at all. The referee saw that the atmosphere of the two was not right, and said quickly, Then both players are ready, let's start now. As soon as the words fell, Wukong's expression froze, and in the next second, he rushed directly over, and in the blink of an eye, he came to Hit, and punched straight to the punch. Hit's face didn't change, his figure dodged like a phantom, and he appeared next to Wukong in the next instant, and he punched out the same way. Goku found this out, but he couldn't react. He was directly knocked back by Hit. Wukong, who stepped back again and again, covered the place where he was beaten with some pain, and sighed, "It's really strong. I've never seen this kind of pain, your strength, before." Hit looked at him lightly, and then said, "Use all your strength, you can't win against me." Wukong grinned, and then his figure rushed out again. Goku rushed in front of Hit and punched him, but he was dodged one by one without any accident. His power was too terrifying. Moreover, when using Flash, Wukong was hit by Hit's heavy punch without even touching the corner of the opponent's clothes. This kind of power is unbelievable. Bump. Wow. After Wukong was beaten several times in a row, he flew out in an instant, and he was about to fall into the ring. Suddenly, he flipped a few somersaults at high speed in the air and landed successfully. Wukong looked at Hit, and immediately smiled. "Although I paid a little price, I have already seen your move." "What?" Hit was stunned for a moment, then a little disbelieving. Hum said, "Monkey King, your tone is not small, but I have no weakness." "No, Hit, your weakness has been mastered by me. Next, I will be serious." Wukong smiled confidently. Cut. Hit was in disbelief, and his face was not as calm at the beginning. "Goku guy, just kidding, how could there be any flaws in Hit's attack?" Krillin couldn't believe it. Damn, this guy Kakarot. Vegeta believed it a bit. After all, Kakarot was his partner, he knew the other side very well, and Goku was not good at lying. Maybe, he really found something. Ha! At this moment, Wukong exploded in vain, a powerful force burst out from his body, and directly transformed into Super Blue. Shish! Wrapped in blue light, Wukong looked at Hit, and immediately said, "Hit, you are really strong, but I won't lose to anyone." Hit watched Goku transform into Super Saiyan Blue, with a little more caution in his eyes. Undoubtedly, this form is very powerful. Even him, in the absence of Flash, may be a little jealous. Thinking of this, Hit posed and said immediately, "Humph. You said you found my weakness. Son Wukong, to be honest, I admire your courage. However, my Flash has no weakness." "Really?" Wukong grinned, and then he suddenly lifted his breath again, making the best of his Super Blue state. Bump. The next moment, Goku charged directly towards Hit. Hit's eyes froze, and the next moment, when he was still using Flash as before, when Wukong approached him, he suddenly stopped for a moment. Hit sneered, and then punched out. Bump. But there was no expected scream, and I saw Goku, blocking Hit's attack. What? Hit couldn't believe it. He couldn't understand that Son Wukong really blocked his Flash attack. "How did you do that?" Oh, stop it." Everyone was shocked, but Goku really resisted Hit's attack. How is this possible? How is that possible? How did Kakarot detect that kind of attack? Vegeta was a little hard to accept. When flashing, it means that the other party can stop the time for 0.1 seconds, and this 0.1 second is enough to do a lot of things. Not only that simple, the other party can control the time and use the flashing time to enter another parallel space, so that is why can't Vegeta hit the opponent, but the opponent appears in another position inexplicably. Luya explained slowly. After a pause, Luya suddenly looked at Wes. It's like Mr. Weiss can manipulate time and use time backwards, and Hit's kind of time is to stop time, about 0.1 seconds, but this 0.1 seconds, for the masters, there is no doubt that a lot of things can be done. Quote. Weiss nodded in agreement. That's right, that's the truth, but I'm also surprised that other than me, there are people who can manipulate time, which is really hard to understand. Everyone suddenly realized that it was so. But even if you know the principle of the opponent's skills, it is difficult to overcome it. First of all, you need enough strength, and then you need to manipulate your body to achieve unity of mind and heart. React in an instant. Predict the opponent. The location in the next second. And Goku is predicting Hit's motives. Weiss explained. This is too powerful. Kaylin and the others all looked at the field with complex expressions. They didn't expect that they could actually operate like this. Chapter 43_Hit evolves. A master never seen before. In the field, Hit looked at Wukong in horror. Why can? Wukong smiled. Success. Swish. In the next moment, Wukong swung his fist directly and swept out towards Hyder. Hit didn't believe in evil, and when he cast Flash again, he saw that the space solidified, and Hyder punched Wukong's stomach without the slightest hesitation. Bang! But the unexpected scene finally happened. I saw Wukong had firmly grasped Hit's fist with one hand. The next moment, Wukong whips his legs. Bump! Hit was instantly kicked back. Hit looked at Wukong with a solemn look on his face. His flash was really broken. So far, Sun Wukong is the first person to crack his flash. Wukong posed and looked at Hit, smiled slightly, and said, Hit, you are not particularly strong without flash, so now I won't be merciful. Hit looked at Sun Wukong, and then narrowed his eyes slightly. At this time, he suddenly said lightly, I have to say, you really surprised me. When you can crack my flash, it shows that your judgment ability is very strong. But, if you want to beat me, it's still a long way off. Ka ka ka. Clenching his fists, Hit showed an excited smile. It's been a long time since I've experienced such a joyous battle. Boom. Next moment he suddenly exploded, and then, a powerful purple force burst out, shocking people. Wukong did not speak, but his face gradually became serious. For so many years, no one can escape my assassination, and no one can crack my flash, so, all these years, I have not chosen to go further. And now, let me understand, I can still stronger. Hitter said, and in the next moment, he suddenly disappeared. Wukong's face changed, and the next moment, he shouted angrily, exploded his anger, and rushed out. Touch. Wow. Unprepared, Wukong suddenly punched. How is that possible? I was hit. The expressions of Kaylin and the others changed greatly, and there was a very shocked look in their eyes. Can't even Goku crack it. Hit's flash time has been enhanced from 0.1 seconds to 0.2 seconds. And he is still getting stronger. Luya said slowly. Is this guy a monster? It's so easy to become stronger. Klein said a little complicatedly. It's not that he is a monster, but that he could have gone further, but he felt it was unnecessary, because before this, he had never met an opponent who had seen him before. Luya said lightly. The crowd looked solemn. Wukong won't lose, right? Bulma asked worriedly. Vegeta looked at the battle on the field with a calm face, and then slowly closed her eyes. That guy Kakarot should have a backer, so just keep watching. At this time, Wukong stepped back again and again. He clutched his stomach. The punch just now, the strength increased a lot. You've become stronger. Wukong looked at Hit and said slowly. Hit looked at him and said, you made me stronger, so I have to thank you. Because of you, you made me understand my own shortcomings. Saying that, Hyder suddenly said, Sun Wukong, just now, my flash time has been used to 0.2 seconds, and now, it is 0.5 seconds. After speaking, his figure suddenly disappeared. Wukong was shocked because he couldn't see Hit's movements at all. Suddenly, Wukong's eyes narrowed. There. After he finished speaking, he shot an air bomb at his left side. Boom. The air bomb exploded, but Hit's figure did not appear, and he had already appeared in front of Wukong at this time, punching out. Ha! Wukong reacted, suddenly bursting with gas, and the huge gas directly shook Hyder back. Wukong took this opportunity to directly deceive himself. However, at this moment, his actions froze in vain. Hit's fist swung out the next second. Boom. No doubt, hit directly. Wow. The purple punch directly penetrates Wukong's body. Just like when Vegeta was defeated. This punch is Hit's true power. The power is so great that even Wukong can't bear it. Spit out a mouthful of white. Bump. Wukong kneeled on the ground in pain, clutching his stomach, his body trembling slightly. Hit stood in front of him and said, although you can predict my actions, the me in Flash, and the enhanced version of Flash, can predict your predictions. How many punches can you take? Wukong gritted his teeth. His face was a little unyielding. He suddenly burst into anger again. The next second he charged directly on the spot, and punched Hit. Bump. But there is no doubt that Hit easily evaded Wukong's attack when he used dodge, and at the same time, he punched Wukong again with all his strength to vomit blood. Goku could no longer bear Hit's two heavy punches, and his body fell directly in front of him. Goku. The expressions of Kaylin and the others changed greatly, and they quickly shouted. Is it over? In the sixth universe, Champa smiled proudly as he looked at Wukong who fell to the ground. Vados smiled and said, Hit is the #1 killer of the sixth universe, and he can still control time, like an angel, and there are very few people who can defeat him. Sun Wukong's Super Saiyan Blue although saying that the strength is stronger than Hit, but if he can't beat him, that strength is in vain no matter how strong it is. Ha ha, I've won the sixth universe. Champa suddenly looked at Beerus proudly, his eyes full of provocation. Can Beerus endure this? The veins burst out. Goku can't beat Hit, he can predict Hit's attack, but Hit can control 0.5 seconds, which is a very long time, so even if he predicts Hit's attack, he will make changes within this time period. Weiss said slowly. Did you just lose to the sixth universe? Beerus was a little unacceptable. You know, losing to the sixth universe is not only to hand over the earth, but also to be beaten in the face of Beerus. Wouldn't it be very embarrassing if this kid like Pa started bragging in the future? It depends on the situation. If Wukong has other cards, he should be able to turn the tables. Weiss said lightly. Kakarot has reached his limit, he can't resist Hit's attack at all. Vegeta said solemnly. That's not necessarily, Luya said suddenly. Hearing this, everyone looked at him. What do you mean? Vegeta looked at Luya, her eyes solemn. Luya smiled slightly and said, Wukong's power is far less simple than you think. He still has a hand. What? Everyone was shocked, and then they all looked at the field, looking forward to it. Hey, how do you know? Vegeta was a little dissatisfied. He had been practicing with Kakarot for so long, but he had never seen any trump cards. And many more, is it? Vegeta was startled, and then he looked at Goku, who fell to the ground, his eyes were a little incredible. Chapter 44_Kai King Fist plus Super Saiyan Blue. Looking at Wukong who fell to the ground, Hit didn't take another shot, but called the referee. Hey, referee, how do you count now? The rule is that you can't kill people, right? However, the other party can't even admit defeat, how do you say it? Hyder said lightly. This. The referee was also a little overwhelmed. He glanced at Sun Wukong, who was lying on the ground, and then at Hit. Is it going to be a winner? Hit looked at Sun Wukong and immediately said, it's over. After saying that, he turned and left. Slow down. At this moment, a low voice suddenly sounded. What? Hit was startled and looked back quickly. It's not just him, everyone else's faces are condensed. I saw Wukong slowly stand up, his body still shaking uncontrollably. It was him who stood up. Wukong smiled. Don't worry. I haven't lost yet. You guy. Hit looked at him in disbelief. Sun Wukong. This is impossible. Even Vegeta, who was also Super Blue, fell down with his full punch. This guy, got 2 punches from him in a row. Even stand up. What a monster. Wukong gasped for breath. He had to say that he really felt the threat of death just now. The power of the other party was really terrifying. And not only that, his flash time predicted his own prediction. This is how powerful his talent is to be able to do all this. I can fight again, Wukong said stubbornly. Why? Is victory really that important to you? Hit said lightly, looking at Wukong. Of course not. Wukong shook his head, then looked at Hit. I just don't want to disappoint you. Oh, Hit wondered. Wukong smiled and said, you should also hope that someone can become your opponent. So, I will not lose to you. Hearing this, Hit closed his eyes slowly, then opened his eyes, looked at Wukong, and said indifferently, "Now, you are struggling to stand, how can you fight me?" Wukong smiled. "I wanted to hide myself all the time, but now I can't help it. It's not because I'm stingy, it's because of this trick. I just practiced it not long ago, and I'm not sure." Huh. Hit's eyes narrowed slightly. Everyone was a little shocked, and they all doubted what Wukong said. Listening to this, Wukong still has a hand. How is it possible? Vegeta's face was a little ugly. Luya looked at this scene with a slight smile. Wukong stood still, took a deep breath, and said, "Now, it's time to get serious." Putting on a stance, Wukong exploded one by one, and immediately turned the super blue stage into a full power state. Ha! Wukong shouted violently, and then, a terrifying chi burst out from his body. Not only that, but a light red light appeared on the blue chi surface of his body. How? That state. Could it be? Vegeta's face changed drastically in the audience. He finally remembered it. King Fist. Kakarot's trump card turned out to be King Fist. Ah! Wukong kept roaring, and his anger rose at this moment. And it seems to be improving indefinitely. Kaka. Under the powerful breath, the protective cover in the air shattered directly. Impossible. This power has surpassed Super Saiyan Blue. Is there a state more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue? How is this possible? But, what is this? Universe 6. Everyone looked at this scene in horror. Champa and Angel Vados both showed fearful expressions at the same time. A drop of cold sweat dripped on Champa's face, and he faintly felt that something was wrong, and suddenly roared, "Hit!" Before he has successfully transformed, solve him. Hit's eyes showed a hint of coldness. He looked at Sun Wukong, ready to do it. Quick, defeat him, Champa urged again. Hit looked at Wukong, not in a hurry, but pondering something. Soon, Hit put down the hand that was ready to attack. Champa said angrily when he saw this scene, "Hey! What are you doing? Dare to disobey my order?" Hit ignored Champa, but looked at Sun Wukong with a confident smile. "Monkey King, you are indeed very strong, but I will become stronger than you." Ah! Sun Wukong's chi was still soaring, and the whole ring couldn't bear his power and began to crumble. Suddenly, Wukong stopped exploding, and the light on his body disappeared without a trace. Everyone is puzzled, because they can't feel Wukong's chi anymore. Hit also looked at Wukong, but in the next second, his pupils shrank. Ha! Wukong suddenly shouted. In the next second, a super terrifying force erupted. Outside the blue light, there is a red light. King Fist. Shish. The powerful force made everyone's complexion change greatly, including the god of destruction and the angel. Their complexions were all dignified at this moment. This kind of power, so strong, Hit said solemnly as he looked at Wukong. This is my trump card. The king of the world. It was taught to me by the king of the world, but considering that it will bring a lot of load to me, I have not used it all these years. But I saw the way before. I also remembered it, and after 2 years of practice, I mastered this world king boxing. But this is not easy to control, it needs to balance the chi and the mind. Perfect mastery. I originally wanted to use it. The one who came to the other party, Lord Beerus, has to use it now. Wukong explained. What? When Beerus heard the words, he was a little flabbergasted. Nima, is this used against him? Is this guy hiding so deep? Ho, Lord Beerus, are you scared? Weiss said jokingly. Hearing this, Beerus immediately pretended to be disdainful and said, "How is it possible? Although he is indeed strong, it is still too naive to deal with me." Looking at this scene, Luya has to say that the power increase is very huge when he uses the Super Saiyan Blue state to cast the King Fist. Wukong's current Super Saiyan Blue has a combat power of 164.0 billion, and after using the King's Fist, his combat power has doubled directly to 32.8 trillion. And Hit's power is only 16.5 trillion. Goku's power is even stronger than him. However, Hit's potential has yet to be unleashed. By the way, Goku has such a powerful trick, why is he only using it now? Beerus suddenly asked in doubt. Chapter 45 _ the output of 10 times the King's Fist. Crush hit. As soon as Beerus said these words, the faces of the friends who were familiar with Goku became strange. Vegeta said solemnly, those who don't know Kaiwang Fist, of course don't know how much burden Kakarot's guy has to cast Kaiwang boxing. When he fought against him back then, I still have that scene to this day. I haven't forgotten that he was only a very weak existence in my eyes back then, and it was because he used the World King Fist that I lost to him. But he also has to pay for it, because although Kai King Fist can easily double his strength, if it continues to be used for a long time, it will cause unimaginable harm to the body. What's more, with Kakarot is getting stronger and stronger, and the difficulty of Jawang Fist is gradually increasing. So unless it is a last resort, that guy won't show it. Beerus and the others fell silent. That's right, and now even if he can transform into Super Saiyan Blue, he still can't hold on for too long. Bluya said. I haven't asked you yet, is Kakarot because of you? Vegeta suddenly looked at Bluya and asked. Bluya did not deny, it's me. Chi. Vegeta snorted coldly. No doubt, Kakarot took one step ahead of him, making him very unhappy. At this time, in the field, Wukong looked at Hit. He didn't do anything, but calmed down his emotions, and then showed a happy smile. I succeeded. Hit looked at him with a solemn expression. Although he didn't want to admit it, Sun Wukong's current power was above him. I didn't expect that I would be able to control this power perfectly. Wukong looked at Hit, and immediately smiled. Hit. Now, I challenge you. Hit's eyes narrowed, and then he put on a fighting stance, waiting at any time. Wukong laughed, and then he burst into anger and rushed towards Hit. Hit's eyes flashed, and in an instant, his whole body and even the entire time and space froze at this moment, and the surroundings were blank. Flash time. Hit looked at Wukong, and the next moment he punched the opponent directly. Click. But the next second, a shocking scene happened. I saw a crack suddenly appeared in the restriction that trapped Goku. And the cracks keep growing. Hit noticed something was wrong, and his face suddenly became horrified. How is it possible? A powerful force directly shattered Hit's flash, and the next second, Hit's fist was directly blocked by Goku. This is impossible. Hit still couldn't believe it. His flash was directly broken by the opponent. Everyone also looked at this scene in amazement, and their eyes were full of shock. It seems that Hit's invincible flash was broken like this. Wukong grinned. Your flash time has no effect on me. Because where I am standing. Far beyond your time. Wukong hits Hit's stomach with a punch. Wow. For the first time, Hitru was hit hard. He spit out a mouthful of white, and his body trembled with pain. Wukong didn't hesitate, and another elbow hit with his backhand, directly hitting Hit out. Hit retreated again and again, and when he stopped, he couldn't help covering the place where he was hit. Strength, speed, everything, have improved so much. How is this possible? Hit said in disbelief. It's not over yet. This is the power of Kaiwang Fist. Wukong smiled slightly, and the next moment, he suddenly clenched his hands and burst into gas. Boom. The blue and red rays of light have more than doubled directly, and Goku's chi is constantly bursting out with an extremely terrifying power. Goku's power has increased again. Krillin and the others were all excited. Such terrifying power, this old grandson. Piccolo didn't even think that this wife could actually raise chi to such a level. His face turned green in surprise. But, damn, this guy Kakarot, why do you rush in front of me every time? Vegeta said a little unwillingly. Bluya looked at the exasperated Wukong, his eyes narrowed slightly. There is no doubt that the effect of ordinary Super Saiyan's World King Fist and Super Blue's World King Fist are very different. It is obvious that the Kaiwang Fist in the Super Blue state that combines the breath of God is much stronger. Although only 10 times. Thinking of this, Luya couldn't help but detect Wukong's current power. Good guy, it collapsed directly out of the 20 trillion category. And it's still improving. 45 trillion, 4,700,000,000,000, 5 trillion, underscore. Nima. Wukong, who performed 10 times the World King's Fist, his combat power actually reached the First Order Angel indefinitely. Nothing is more shocking than Hit, because he is the closest to Wukong and can easily feel the pressure brought by the opponent. This is a very terrifying power. Even he was a little scared at this time. His power is rapidly increasing. 3 times. 4 times. No. It's 10 times 10 times Wang Shilu. Wukong suddenly roared. The horrible power was blown out. Boom. After Wukong finished his gas burst, the next second, he suddenly charged towards Hit. But the next moment suddenly disappeared. Hit's face changed. So fast. I can't see his movements at all. I'm here, Hit. Suddenly, Goku's voice came from behind. Hit turned to look at him. Who knew that Wukong disappeared again in the next instant, and he teleported several times around Hit without even leaving an afterimage. Call out. Suddenly, Goku appeared behind Hit and blasted him away with a punch. It wasn't over yet. Wukong took advantage of the victory to pursue the attack, and instantly moved in front of Hit, punched and kicked, and hit her without the slightest resistance. Boom. Hit in the face with a punch, and in the next second, Goku slapped Hit directly into the air. Hit also took advantage of this gap to relieve the pain in the air, and then slammed several air bullets in the direction of Wukong. Wukong lightly stretched out his hand and kept hitting the opponent's attack. It's useless. I've surpassed you now, Hit, Wukong said lightly. Hit looked at Sun Wukong, and immediately said, Sun Wukong, I have to say, you are really powerful, and you still hide such a terrifying hand, but I regret to tell you that my power will follow you to become stronger and stronger. Strong. Wukong's eyes narrowed, and the next second he had flashed behind Hit, clasping his fists with both hands and directly knocking him into the ring. Boom. A burst of explosion sounded, and the arena was directly cracked. Goo, goo, goo. At this moment, Wukong's muscles twitched in vain, and his expression changed. P.S. Don't ask me why I update now. Happy. The fan list has all come out. It's rare. All of you for your active cooperation, thank you very much. Let's try to get the reward list out too. Know what I mean? It was almost impossible, hey. Now it works again. It's so amazing. Chapter 46_Strong Duel. Approaching the Battle of the Angels. Feeling the pain in the muscles, Wukong's face gradually became solemn. It seems that even the Super Saiyan Blue can't hold the tenfold Kai King Fist for too long. As his strength increased, so did the power of the King's Fist, so the load on his body was very large. Thinking of this, Wukong looked down at the ring, his eyes narrowed. Boom boom boom. At this moment, a commotion sounded, and then, a purple airwave directly dissipated the smoke and dust on the arena, revealing Hit's stature. At this moment, Hit was surrounded by purple rays of light, and he continued to explode, and his combat power also skyrocketed. What? That fellow Hit has such great power. Vegeta couldn't hide her horrified expression when she saw this scene. He found that Hit's chi had far surpassed Super Saiyan Blue. For a time, the friends in the 7th universe were all nervous for Wukong. On the other hand, the 6th universe can be described as ups and downs. At first, they thought that their 6th universe would lose, but after Hit came on stage, they saw hope again, but Sun Wukong's move, they were very caught off guard. And now, Hit is trying to catch up. The potential in Hit's body is very great, and he should have never released his potential, because for him, there were few opponents in his previous strength, but now, he has encountered the wonderful Monkey King, so the battle in the body the factor is also activated and begins to reveal all his power. Vados said slowly. Champa sneered. Humph. Victory is definitely our 6th universe. Sun Wukong's form won't last long at all. Mr. Champa is right, an explosion at that level is not something he can withstand, and naturally it will bring a very heavy load to the body. Vados laughed. Champa smiled proudly, as if the victory was already theirs. In the air, Goku was also staring at Hit, who was bursting with anger in the air. He could feel that the opponent's chi had gradually caught up with him. Unable to hide the shock in his heart, Wukong whispered, "I didn't expect that there would be such a strong person in other universes. If I knew this, I should have let Lord Beerus take us to see it. This kind of thing can make me feel trembling. Opponent, I must respond." With his hands clenched, Wukong roared and burst his breath again, raising his breath to the top, and the red light was very dazzling. "Is Wukong crazy? Why do you still have to lift your breath? Obviously his power is stronger than Hit," Klein said with some worry. "Kakarot's state will get worse and worse as his power increases, so the battle must be resolved as quickly as possible, and under this premise, Kakarot's power must far exceed above Hit," Vegeta said solemnly. Luya looked at Hit in the field, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. At this time, Hit's burst of gas had been completed, and his power, under Hit's test, had reached 1 trillion billion. It has increased nearly several times. Is this a monster? How could such a powerful force exist in his body? However, although Hit's combat power has not yet reached the level of Sun Wukong, you must know that Sun Wukong's current body, even if the combat power is as high as more than 100 trillion, can't exert his full strength. At this time, Hit's body was covered with purple light, and his breath was unprecedentedly powerful. And he slowly looked up at Wukong and said, "I have to thank you, Sun Wukong, because thanks to your help, my inner potential has finally been fully released." Wukong looked at Hit and smiled slightly. "Very good, then now, let's start again." Hit's eyes narrowed, and he immediately assumed a fighting posture. He still had no flaws in his body, but judging from his posture, Hyder was serious. Immediately afterwards, Hit suddenly disappeared. In the next instant, the space where Wukong was located turned directly into white. Everything stands still. Flash time. Wukong gritted his teeth, and then he suddenly burst into gas, directly breaking Hit's flash, and the next second, he raised his arm to block. Bang! A heavy punch hit him directly on the arm, but luckily it was blocked by Goku. Wukong roared and punched directly. Snapped. But unexpectedly, his fist was also caught by Hit. Hit looked at Wukong and said slowly, "As my power exploded, my flash time also broke through the 1-second limit, so don't try to surpass me." Wukong suddenly smiled mysteriously and said, "Really? What?" Bang! Ah! If Hit was hit hard, he was directly bent into a shrimp shape by Wukong's knee, followed by another heavy punch from Wukong, and hit Hyder directly to the ground. Hit was embarrassed, and the next moment, he suddenly exploded, and then he activated Flash again, and flashed in front of Wukong. But Wukong directly broke Hit's flash, although he couldn't crush Hit, but he could also suppress the place. Bump! Suddenly there was a gap. Hit punched Wukong. Wukong could only cross his hands to resist, and suddenly fell on the ring. Swish! Hit reappears in front of Goku. Who knew that Wukong suddenly roared, and the powerful aura directly shook Hyder back, and his aura rose again. Shish! After knocking Hit back, Wukong didn't hesitate, and directly used the princess tactics to continuously release Qigong waves towards Hyder. Under the strong and intensive firepower suppression, Hyder retreated again and again, and he couldn't dodge in the air. And suddenly, Wukong, who was constantly releasing air bombs, suddenly had an ugly expression on his face, and his muscles were constantly contracting at this time. Even if he turned into Super Saiyan Blue, he wouldn't be able to last as long as the 10 times Kai King Fist. Quick fight! Wukong's expression was condensed, and the next moment, he suddenly stopped his hands, and then put his hands on his waist. Turtle. Pai, Chi. Hit was also aware of the crisis, and his face suddenly became solemn, and then, he suddenly roared, and directly raised his strength to the peak state. Woohoo! Extending his palm towards Wukong, Hit's palm also began to condense into a powerful purple energy. Weiss! Beerus suddenly said in the audience. Yes. Weiss understood, and appeared over the arena in the next instant. At the same time, Vados also appeared beside him. The two angels looked at each other and nodded, and then the two angels pressed the scepter in their hands at the same time. Suddenly, a protective shield directly wrapped the ring and Wukong hit. At this moment, Wukong suddenly roared, "Bo!" Boom! The incomparably terrifying Qigong wave charged directly towards Hyder. Chapter 47_Compassionate Each Other. Friendship with Wu. The terrifying Qigong wave was extremely dazzling, and it directly cut through the space and charged towards Hit. Hit also felt the power of Wukong's moves at this time. Suddenly, his face changed, and then he roared, and saw that a purple light wave suddenly shot out from his palm. The two light waves collided. Ah! Ah! Whether it's Wukong or Hit, they are using their most powerful strength at this time, because they all understand that only in this way can they resist the opponent's offensive. But it was obvious that Wukong was superior, and the huge Qigong wave directly and gradually melted Hit's Qigong wave and approached him. Hit secretly said that it was not good, and when he hurriedly urged the flash, his figure disappeared immediately. I've been waiting for you for a long time. There, Wukong roared, and then he immediately performed teleportation and appeared in front of Hit in an instant. Ha! With a loud shout, the Turtle School Qigong directly hit Hyder. Ah! He was too hasty and completely underestimated the power of the opponent. Boom! With Hit's final stubbornness, a huge explosion finally exploded in the air. The intense rays of light enveloped the audience and were so dazzling that the audience couldn't help but block their sight with their hands. What a powerful force! I didn't expect this old boy, Lao's son, to be able to rise to this level. Piccolo couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. You must know that he and Wukong started at the same time and came all the way, but the other party kept coming back again and again. Keep surpassing him. Actually, in addition to Vegeta being depressed, he is also very depressed, because it can be said that before these Saiyans came to Earth, he can be said to be the most powerful opponent of Goku. But since he came into contact with the Saiyans, he found that he had no chance to succeed. And since the man-made incident, he has stopped chasing after these Saiyans, because he has self-knowledge, and he is definitely not as good as these perverted Saiyans. Of course, Vegeta is different, he is eager to surpass Goku time and time again. But now that the other party has surpassed him by so much at once, this kind of gap makes him very uncomfortable. As expected of a martial arts prodigy, Goku's strength is still very good. Sir Beerus, do you think so? Weiss smiled and looked at Beerus. Beerus' mouth twitched slightly. It's not bad, but this kid actually wants to use this trick against me, which is a bit disrespectful. Ho ha ho ho. Weiss smiled and said nothing. At this time, the smoke in the arena dissipated, but in the ring, Goku and Hit were no longer there. Huh, where did Goku and Hit go? The referee shouted in surprise. There, someone said, and everyone looked in one direction. I saw two figures standing at the top of the portrait mirror of Elephant Pa and Beerus. It's Goku and Hit. Seeing that neither of the two fell down, everyone was in an uproar. Unexpectedly, Hit escaped Wukong's decisive victory Turtle Qigong. Wukong looked at Hit dignifiedly. How could you escape my Turtle Qigong? Hit smiled mysteriously and said, thanks to you, I have been able to improve myself again at a critical moment, and this is how I escaped your attack. Saying that, he grabbed his fists, his eyes darkened. Wukong gritted his teeth slightly, because his current body can be said to have exceeded the load. The move just now lost too much of his chi and physical strength. Now, his muscles are sore. You can faintly see his muscles twitching slightly. And the sharp-eyed Shangpa noticed it, and immediately shouted excitedly, hey! Good chance. Son Wukong can't hold on for long. Hit, quickly solve him. Everyone in the 7th universe has a heavy face. Hit looked at Wukong. Although Wukong was struggling at this time, he maintained Kaiwanquan with an unyielding smile. Suddenly, Hit also smiled. Monkey King, I have to say, you really make me admire. I have never met someone like you for so many years. Wukong also smiled slightly. Me too, this is the first time I have met a master as powerful as you except Lord Beerus. The two looked at each other across the air, with a smile on the corners of their mouths, quite a kind of sympathy. The next moment, the two exploded at the same time. One red and one purple exudes extremely powerful power. When the two of them pose, ready to continue the battle. Sudden. Puff. Wukong's muscles twitched violently. Wukong couldn't even bear the pain. Bean-sized sweat dripped down, gritted his teeth and insisted. Not good. Wukong is about to reach his limit. The old realm king suddenly changed his face. Come on, Goku, Krillin exclaimed. Other friends are also cheering for Wukong. Beerus narrowed his eyes slightly to watch this scene, and said nothing. Good chance. That's it. Hit. Don't entangle with Monkey King. Delay time. He will naturally be unable to hold on. Champa said suddenly excitedly. And when he said this, he immediately attracted a lot of unhappy eyes. Even the players of the 6th universe were a little unhappy. Gabe even stood up directly and said to Pa, Master Champa, please don't interfere with them. Respect the fairness of the martial arts. Shut up. How could Champa stand up to a kid who commits a crime? Looking directly at Gabe angrily, boy, don't meddle in your own business. You know, you are just my pawns. Who cares if you live or die? Saying that, Champa stretched out his hand and pressed it in front of Gabe. One more word, and I will destroy you directly on the spot. Gabe's face turned pale, and his figure retreated again and again. And at this moment, two sharp gazes came over. With an icy chill. Champa was startled and took a step back subconsciously. When he saw the gazes of Wukong and Hit, he became angry again. Nima. Is he so timid? Surprised by two mortals. However, Goku and Hit didn't pay attention to Champa, but looked at each other. Go on. Wukong took a deep breath and forcibly held back the burden brought by the king's fist, and laughed. Hit nodded, and then he flashed to Goku. Goku didn't make a move. The two looked at each other, then laughed at the same time, stretched out their fists and touched it lightly. This is Yiwu meeting friends. Hit stepped back, and then he assumed a new confrontation stance. The next moment, he preempted the attack, and when he directly used dodge, he appeared in front of Wukong. Too fast. Wukong failed to react this time, and was directly beaten by Hit. Screaming again and again. How is that possible? Kaylin and others couldn't believe it. Luya said solemnly, Wukong's physical strength can no longer maintain the peak 10 times the king's fist, and he can't keep up with Hit's flash. Everyone's faces were a little awkward. Chapter 48 _ Goku admits defeat. Strongman's Covenant. Bang. Ah! Goku was hit by Hit several times. Damn it. Beerus' face changed greatly. It's lost. Oops. Weiss shook his head regretfully. Wukong. Kaylin and others stood up one after another and said worriedly. Are you really going to lose? Wukong, he really lost. That's great. Champa on the other side was so happy that he was about to applaud. Hit was very quiet. He looked at Wukong, who was slowly falling, and then closed his eyes, not knowing what he was thinking. It's over. Just when everyone thought that the game was over, Wukong suddenly opened his eyes, and then, a strong spiritual support made him explode at this moment. Ah! With Wukong's roar, his chi reached its peak in an instant. The next moment, he rushed directly in front of Hit. Impossible. Hit's face changed instantly. Without any precautions, he was directly punched by Wukong a few times, and his body flew out and embedded directly into the wall. Why? Champa and the others stood up in disbelief. Who would have thought that Wukong could fight back at this time, and his strength was so powerful? After the critical attack, Wukong suddenly released his strength and fell to the ring, gasping for breath. Hit was embedded in the wall, pulled out with difficulty, then panted and looked at Sun Wukong. Wukong gritted his teeth and insisted on standing up, then took a deep breath. He looked at Hit. Hit, you should have a killer, right? Huh. Hit was stunned, then said, "Why do you think so?" Wukong laughed, and then said, "I felt that you were a little constrained during the battle with you. You should be paying attention to something." Hit looked at Wukong, and after a moment of silence, he said, "I am a killer, and my duty is to kill. So in order not to kill you, I try not to use killer moves." Wukong nodded. "I understand." As he said that, he suddenly looked at Shangpa and said, "Hey, Master Shangpa, I'll apply to revoke the rules of the competition." "What?" Wukong's operation immediately made everyone puzzled. Hit was stunned for a moment, then looked at Wukong deeply, and said nothing. Shangpa was a little surprised. "Oh. What rule do you want to revoke?" Wukong smiled slightly. "I want to revoke the rule of killing people. If this is not the case, the hit guy can't do his best." When Shangpa heard this, he was immediately stunned. What is this operation? Opponent, dare to say so. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Wukong to be so crazy. "Wukong, did he take the wrong medicine?" Kaylin said with some sweat. Others are puzzled. "Why?" Hit looked at Wukong. "Aren't you afraid of death?" Wukong explained with a smile. "Of course I'm afraid of this kind of thing, but I can't let you leave any regrets. You should also do your best for this battle, right?" Hit looked at Wukong, was silent for a long time, and then smiled. "Monkey King, you are really an interesting person." "Hey," Wukong smiled. "Ha ha ha, good. Since you want to court death, then I'll be more respectful than obedient. Let's revoke the rules of the game," Shangpa said excitedly. "Hey, I don't agree." Beerus suddenly appeared in front of Shangpa, gritted his teeth. "Why don't you agree? That's what your people in the 7th universe asked for." Shangpa glared at Beerus angrily. "HMPH. If you don't agree, you don't agree." Beerus snorted coldly. **# The two gods of destruction were ready to fight directly because of the rules of the game. Looking at the two gods in the sky, Hit sighed a little. Such a powerful god, indeed, in their eyes, we are just ants. Wukong smiled and said, "I don't think so, although I can't beat them now, but in the future I can definitely reach this point." Hit was stunned for a moment, then smiled slightly. "Indeed." Wukong smiled, and then he took the initiative to walk towards the edge of the ring. Everyone looked at Wukong's movements in confusion, not knowing what he was going to do. At this moment, Wukong jumped directly from the ring. Gah! At this moment, everyone is petrified. "Hey, Goku, what are you doing?" Beerus, who had reacted, suddenly said angrily. Wukong smiled and said, "I admit defeat. I can't beat Hit, he is too strong." At the same time, Wukong said softly, "I'm not a chess piece." "Nani?" Beerus' face turned purple with anger. "Ha ha ha, Beerus. Now you know how powerful I am in the 6th universe." Shangpa laughed proudly, not forgetting to get down. "Humph." Beerus snorted coldly, then returned to his seat. Suddenly, Wukong withdrew his Zhuang fist and his super blue form. Suddenly, his muscles twitched, and the huge pain directly caused him to fall to the sky. Wukong, Chi-Chi and the others rushed down, and Qin fed Wukong the fairy beans. "Wukong is much better now," he breathed a sigh of relief. "Alive." Hit walked to the edge of the ring and looked at Sun Wukong. "Why?" Wukong chuckled. "My body has already reached its limit. If I don't disarm the Kaiwang fist as soon as possible, it will be hard to say." Hit frowned. "Is that true?" Wukong smiled. "Of course, I also told them with my actions that we are not pawns." Hit was stunned for a moment, and then his face became a little complicated. Wukong stood up, immediately looked at Hit, and clenched his fist slightly. "Hit, you are very strong. You are even stronger than me, so if you have a chance, be sure to challenge me again." Hit looked at Wukong and immediately smiled. "Monkey King, to be honest, you are the strongest among the people I have met, so I look forward to fighting with you next time." Wukong was finally satisfied. "Okay. Turning to look at Kaylin and others, "Let's go." After speaking, the group returned to the auditorium. "Sir Beerus, I'm sorry, I lost the game." Wukong was still very interesting. Although Beerus was a little angry, he was reasonable and waved his hand. "Forget it. I don't blame you." Wukong said with some sigh. "It is really powerful. Next time I fight, I must surpass him." "Kakarot, before that, I will surpass you one step ahead." Vegeta suddenly said solemnly. "Ha ha, let's work together then." Wukong laughed. "Humph." Vegeta turned her head arrogantly, ignoring him. The atmosphere is no longer rigorous, and everyone's faces softened. Speaking of Hit is so strong, should only Monaka be able to defeat him? Wukong suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed, and Beerus broke down in a cold sweat and panicked. Wukong looked at Luya and smiled. "The next game is for you to deal with Hit. Be careful, that guy is not easy." Luya smiled and said, "Don't worry." Beerus suddenly said quickly, "Hey, Luya, you have to get rid of Hit for me. Otherwise, the consequences will be serious. Did you hear me?" Luya glanced at Beerus, then glanced at Monaka inexplicably, and said helplessly, "I'll try my best." Beerus. Try your best. Do your best to lose and he's done. Chapter 49_Luya is here. Familiar scene. It was Luya's turn to appear. Wukong glanced at Luya, and then he was a little brain burning. Luya should not be Hit's opponent. After the battle with you, Hit has consumed a lot of money, so maybe there is still a chance. Beerus said lightly. Wukong was stunned for a moment, then raised his eyebrows and looked at Keelan. "Keelan, do you still have fairy beans?" As soon as Wukong said this, the expressions of Keelan and the others changed in an instant. "Old son, what do you want to do?" Piccolo's face turned green with shock. Isn't this guy trying to give Hit some fairy beans? Everyone felt the same way, because they also remembered the time when they fought with Xilu. But Gohan almost got mad. If it hadn't become Super 2 in time, all Z fighters in the field might have died. This guy, wouldn't he still want to do this? Beerus also noticed something. He looked at Wukong coldly. "Hey. You don't want to eat fairy beans for Hit." He knows that with Wukong's character, he can do it completely. Wukong smiled awkwardly and said, "It's nothing, right? He fought with me, and the consumption is also very large, and don't we still have the trump card of Monaka?" Hearing this, Beerus panicked, and hurriedly punched Wukong on the head. "Baga. How can you think like that?" The corners of the mouths of the others twitched slightly. Most of them knew the details of Monaka, but Wukong was the only one who was kept in the dark. Until now, he still thought that Monaka was a supermaster. Wukong covered his head in pain, and said a little unhappily, "Lord Beerus. How did you hit me?" Beerus clenched his fists angrily. "I ask you, do you want Luya to lose this game and let Monica play?" Wukong laughed. "Yeah, that's what I thought." Beerus. "Wukong, don't be ridiculous." Weiss suddenly said. He was speechless to his master. What was wrong? But he wanted Monaka to come over. And it was the first time he saw Beerus-sama so angry. Goku looked at Weiss. Weiss thought for a while and said, "Monica is inconvenient to take action now, and this game is no child's play. If you lose, you will know the consequences." "Ah, why is it inconvenient?" After speaking, he looked at Monaka and was about to walk towards him. At this time, Beerus quickly stopped Goku. "Hey. What do you want?" Wukong said suspiciously. "I'll talk to Monaka." Beerus said lightly. "No. Monaka can't get close now." "Why? But why is he motionless now?" Goku bypassed Beerus, his eyes on Monaka. "Huh, that's because Monaka has been in a coma since he saw the turtle sect magic." Weiss suddenly whispered. Beerus panicked, and then hurriedly said, "If I say no, I can't." Wukong's eyes narrowed. He felt that this was a bit strange, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. Seeing that it was about to be revealed, Beerus suddenly had a flash of light in his mind, so he said lightly, Monica is currently undergoing spiritual unification, and you can't disturb it at this time, otherwise the consequences will be very serious. There used to be a planet destroyed by Monica. Hearing this, Wukong was shocked. Really? Good guy. Destroy the planet in one word. Sure enough, he is a great master. Beerus took the opportunity to say, so it's not convenient for him to shoot now. If he is disturbed, it will be very disadvantageous for him, understand? He needs time now. Goku had to give up the idea of letting Monaca shoot, and obediently return to Vegeta. Seeing this, Beerus breathed a sigh of relief. Ho-ho, Beerus-sama, you seem to be panicking. Whis said gloatingly. Beerus said angrily, you can't talk nonsense like that, Whis. It was almost revealed. Whis smiled slightly. I didn't expect that as the god of destruction, Lord Beerus would lie. Beerus was a little embarrassed, but said stubbornly, humph. If I can make Goku stronger, it doesn't matter if I sacrifice a little. Whis. Hey, they're ready to start. At this moment, Piccolo reminded. Everyone looked at the field. At this time, Luya looked at Hit, a little dignified. Although the opponent's current strength has consumed most of it, it is still very powerful. Hit looked at Luya, his face was calm, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Luya suddenly took out a fairy bean and threw it to Hit. Everyone. Beerus and the others suddenly changed their faces. That guy, how can you be so messed up? Beerus glared at Luya with a ferocious face, and he was already angry at this time. Luyata, what does he want to do? Kaylin and others said in a puzzled way. Idiot, Piccolo and Vegeta were both displeased. Ha, ha ha, this guy Luya has the style of my past. Wukong also smiled a little surprised, but he was still a little excited, because in this case, he might still see Monaca's shot. What is this? Hit asked Luya, looking at him. Luya smiled and said, this is the fairy bean, which can make your physical strength recover in an instant and reach the peak state. Hit was a little puzzled. Why did you give me this? If I return to the peak, your 7th universe may have no chance of winning. Luya smiled slightly. This is not necessarily. I still have some confidence in myself. I am not that kind of villain. Your physical strength and strength are less than half of the original, so I also hope to fight with you at your peak. Ha ha ha, idiot, I didn't expect there are such stupid people. Are you giving me a head in the 6th universe? Champa couldn't help laughing proudly when he heard this, and he looked at Beerus. Hey. Beerus, your Earth, I will accept it rudely. Damn, Beerus was so angry. His face turned purple. He looked at Luya. His eyes were a little indifferent. Listen, if you can't win, I will destroy you. Luya glanced at Beerus, then smiled. I try my best. Hit looked at him, and then showed a smile. You are as interesting as Sun Wukong, but even if you do this, I will not be merciful. Luya smiled confidently, although let the horse come over. Hit glanced at Wukong's figure in the audience, and immediately swallowed the fairy bean without any hesitation. In less than 2 seconds, Hit's state returned to its peak. Hit looked at Luya and said, you are also a Saiyan, so show your power, otherwise, you are not my opponent. Luya smiled strangely, then you will be ugly. Boom. P.S. Gmail people. Brother. Oh no, my sister has reached 100,000 words. I would like to thank a few big bosses for their generous rewards, and my friends Teasy for their rewards. I have to make a promise to do it. Oh, I'm so happy in my heart. I'm saving the manuscript recently, and there will be a wave of outbreaks, let you read enough. I beg you all the rich and handsome, and the rich and beautiful people. If you are cool, there will be more updates, and it will be faster. Chapter 50_18 times World King Fist. Lure vs. Ha. Without hesitation, Luya turned into a Super Saiyan. Immediately afterwards, he exploded again and transformed into a Super 2. At this time, his combat power has reached an astonishing 5 trillion. Under the improvement of normality, after transforming into a Super Saiyan, Luya's combat power also soared very fast. Luya watched, hit, and said, I can still transform into the third stage of Super Saiyan, but that stage is very stamina, so, based on this form, I will fight with you. Hit shook his head. Not enough. His potential is now awakened, and his combat power is close to 1 trillion billion when he is completely detonated. So even when he doesn't need to dodge, he can easily deal with each other. Luya smiled slightly. Of course I don't know enough, so. Ah. When the words fell, Luya was directly exploding, and at the same time, his power was constantly skyrocketing. The combat power continues to soar. This attitude, could it be that you? Seeing Luya's posture, Hit's face changed suddenly. Luyada, he's using the Realm King Fist. Everyone in the 7th universe was shocked. How is that possible? His Kaiwang Fist is even stronger than Kakarot's. Vegeta's expression changed suddenly. Is he really going to become the third child of the millennium? Oh, it's interesting. Beerus, who was a little angry at first, was a little surprised when he saw this scene, and then his anger disappeared a lot. Haha, Luya's Kaiwang Fist is indeed more powerful than me, and he can withstand more multiples than me. It can also make up for the defect that he can't transform into Super Saiyan Blue. Wukong slightly with a smile. He and Luya practiced together in the spiritual time house, so he knew Luya's confidence. How could it be? He can too. At this moment, Shangpa and Vados were not calm. In addition to Sun Wukong, there are people who can become such a posture. With Luya's exploding anger, Hyder gradually became more serious, but he did not interrupt Luya's chi lifting, which was regarded as a repayment for the other party's fairy beans. At the same time, Hit also suddenly burst into gas at this moment. The purple light danced like a roaring dragon, and his breath skyrocketed in an instant. Ah, Luya's golden light has been put on a red coat, exactly the same as Wukong's. And his power is also increasing towards the trend of billions. 7 times, 8 times, 9 times. The aura of the two directly caused the newly restored enchantment to crack and shatter piece by piece. As a last resort, Weiss and Vados could only use their divine power again to reinforce the barrier. Luya's chi is no weaker than Wukong, Kaylin said with some sweat. Wukong is also a little dignified at this time. I can control the tenfold World King Fist is very good, but Luya can be stronger than me, and still can't transform into Super Saiyan Blue. It shows that he is against the world. King Fist has been cultivated to the point of perfection. But what puzzles me is that Jia Wong Fist consumes a lot of physical strength. Why is it not obvious in him? In the spiritual time room, he and Luya also practiced World King boxing, but the opponent's physical strength was much less than his own. And even while maintaining the Super Saiyan Blue color. He doesn't understand this either. Looking at this situation, there seems to be hope, Weiss said with a slight smile. Humph. Beerus snorted arrogantly. In the field, Luya suddenly roared, 18 times the king of the world. Boom boom boom. In an instant, his anger skyrocketed. Trillions. Luya's power has reached 1,000,000 billion. Go straight to Goku, who performed 10 times the king's fist in the super blue state. In the spiritual time room, he has barely mastered the 18-fold World King Fist. Of course, his perfect tolerance range is 15 times. And 18 times is a bit difficult, but only in this way can he fight against Hit. Boom. At this time, Hit also completed the explosion. At this time, his combat power reached more than 90 trillion. But it is weaker than Luya. Hit looked at Luya and asked with some doubts, why? According to Sun Wukong's previous World King Fist, this move should be very physical. You are not a Super Saiyan Blue, you can actually perform more than Sun Wukong. Strong power. Luya smiled slightly. You should have heard that practice makes perfect. Hit was silent. Luya's Jawang Fist has a relatively low load on the body due to the plug-in system. Of course, it is not that there is no load. As he uses it more and more times, it is still a little too much for the body. But he's a little better than Wukong's situation. After all, it's a plug-in. He should be able to hold on for a few minutes with the 18-fold World King fist in the form of a Super 2. But the load it brings is still not small, although it will not have the sequelae of Goku. Thinking of this, he looked at Hit. Let me experience the power of Flash. Hit took a pose and then said, although your combat power is stronger than mine, you can't be my opponent in my Flash. Luya smiled. Who knows? Hit smiled slightly. Interesting, I didn't expect that in addition to Sun Wukong, the 7th universe, there is a character like you. Saiyans are really a group of not simple characters. Luya smiled and said, okay, let's fight. Hit put away his smile, and then his eyes narrowed, and the next moment, the white field continued to spread around him. Time cage. Luya shouted angrily and exploded his breath violently. The next moment, he shot directly. His fist was like an afterimage, and he stood on the spot and threw his fist in front of him continuously. And shockingly, every time he punched, it caused a collision. That is, Hit has attacked him. But they were all blocked by Luya. System. Activate the strongest Saiyan talent. Luya secretly said in his heart. Open black lens bracket drop. Activate the strongest Saiyan talent. Close black lens bracket. This is a very good learning opportunity for Luya. With the strongest Saiyan talent, he can capture the opponent's trajectory and constantly break through himself through battle. Suddenly, Luya's pupils shrank, and the next moment, his stomach was punched. At this moment, the Flash disappeared, and Hit had appeared in front of Luya. How is that possible? Beerus widened his eyes in disbelief. Damn it! Wukong and the others' expressions changed, and they said with some worry. Very good. That's it, Champa said excitedly. Hit approached Luya and said lightly, my flash time is not so simple, because the battle with Sun Wukong has already broken through for a second. Therefore, you can't win against me. Really? Suddenly, Luya raised his head slightly and looked at Hit. What? Hit was startled, and in the next second, he hadn't reacted yet, and was punched in the face by Luya, and he retreated again and again. Reversal time. P.S. Haha, is it not in line with your imagination? Some people say that they are looking forward to the debut of Super 4, but it is not necessary now, that is, before that time, the setting of Super 4 has been raised a lot by me, so it will appear later. Stay tuned. Chapter 51_shock. I predicted your prediction. Hit was pumped back. This scene shocked everyone. Luya, he can actually hold Hit's fist. It's amazing. Wukong's eyes lit up and he was a little surprised. Vegeta was also a little shocked. He and Kakarot had both personally felt Hit's fist. Undoubtedly, both of them couldn't bear Hyder's attack. Especially Vegeta, who was knocked down by Hit with all his strength. But Luya was able to resist this powerful pain and fight back, which undoubtedly shocked them. In the field, Hyder wiped the scratches on his face, then looked at Luya. I thought of this. Luya pouted. This is the first time I fight with you. There is no way to avoid it. I can only induce you to get close, otherwise I won't have a chance, but the price is a bit high. Holding his stomach, Luya could also feel the burning pain. He finally understood why Goku and Vegeta were knocked down by each other's fists. If this is a weaker existence, a punch is not too much. However, because of the fight against Hit, he gradually grasped Hit's offensive line. You can predict Wukong's prediction, then when you predict my prediction, I will predict your prediction again. In this way, I can break your flash. Luya smiled confidently. Hit smiled slightly. It's easy to say, I'm afraid you can't do it. I can do it. As long as I have the strongest talent. I can keep getting stronger. I can definitely beat you. Luya shouted angrily, and the next moment he exploded his anger, and displayed the king's fist to the fullest. Swish. The next moment, Luya appeared directly behind Hit and punched. Hit reacted and immediately activated the flash. In an instant, a white time cage enveloped the audience. And Luya's attack solidified at this moment. But just when Hit was about to shoot, Luya suddenly moved. How is that possible? Hit's face changed, and the fist he punched was directly caught by Luya. Bump. Luya was not polite at all, and punched Hit's stomach with a full power punch. For a time, an invisible punch directly passed through Hit's body. Wow. Hit suddenly vomited, the time cage could not be maintained, and he broke the power directly in the blink of an eye. Hit. Shangpa was startled and stood up, his face was full of cold sweat. Success. Goku, Beerus and others were overjoyed. That guy broke Hit's flash time. It's amazing, Krillin said in cold sweat. Although Goku also broke Hit's flash when he transformed into Kai King Fist, Hit of that time, compared to now, can't be compared at all. Bump. Hit knelt down halfway. He gasped for breath, trying to relieve the pain. Originally, he was the only one who hit others, but he didn't expect to receive such a punch now. Is his flash really broken? Impossible. He controlled the time to the level of 1 second. How could the other party be broken? Luya looked at Hit and said, I prejudged your prejudgment of mine. Shemshi, for me, has gradually become useless. Hit gritted his teeth, and then he stood up with difficulty. Why did I just get punched by you, so I can't stand it? Luya said lightly, your strength in head-to-head combat is actually not very good. The reason why you are so powerful is that your biggest advantage is your flash, but I, who have performed 18 times the World King Fist, have the power in you. Above. But, damn, Hit gritted his teeth, and then he shouted angrily, and when he activated the flash again, the next moment, he punched Luya countless times. Luya hurriedly dodged, although the opponent's speed exceeded the time, but he figured out a trace of the opponent's attack trajectory, plus his own advantages, he could still dodge it. What? Luya shouted angrily, then counterattacked, punched violently, and with a slam, it directly offset Hit's fist, just crossed time and offset his strength. I said, I can predict your predictions. Luya shouted angrily, and then he kicked out. Hit raised his arm in a hurry. Bump. In the next second, his figure retreated again and again. Luya has the upper hand. Hit looked at Luya, and then said, Sun Wukong can't maintain this form for a long time when he turns blue, why are you all right now? He found that the other party actually controlled this state very well, and there was no backlash at all. Luya smiled slightly, because I'm strong. If Wukong can also ignore the load brought by the King of Kings boxing, then Hit may lose to him, and thinking from another perspective, Luya can still insist on the load of King of the Kings boxing, so he has a good chance of winning. Hit looked at Luya, and immediately put on a fighting posture. I underestimate you, but next, I will do my best. Luya also put on a pose, let the horse come over. He has adapted to Hit's flash, and he has to say that the strongest Saiyan talent is glass, and it's no wonder that Broly, who has this talent, will crush Goku and the others. Now, he is going to be majestic. Boom. With a burst of gas, Luya took the initiative to attack, and he was in front of Hit in an instant. The increase brought by the King of Kings boxing was not a cover. That kind of speed has surpassed time. Hit's face flickered grimly, and the next moment he flashed. He avoided Luya's attack and used dodge on himself, but he couldn't attack Luya in this second gap, because the other party had almost no attack at this time. Flaw, so he can only dodge. Where to escape? Luya shouted angrily, pointed his toes, rushed to Hit, and punched him in the face. Hit screamed in pain and retreated again and again, and Goku had already flashed in front of him at this time. With a series of heavy blows, his fists hit Hider like raindrops. The energy sputtering, the force is terrifying. With Hit being completely suppressed, Shangpa panicked a little and said quickly, counterattack. Counterattack. Hello, Hitter, you can't lose. Others looked at this picture and sighed a little. I didn't expect Saiyans to grow to such a level. Saiyans in the 7th universe are really terrifying. If you can come, you must be very excited. Quote. Very good. The situation is turning towards Luya. Beerus was worried just now and is excited now. This kid's performance, is barely good. Seeing Shampa's face that was about to turn blue, Beerus felt relieved. Impossible. Except for Kakarot, there are people who have surpassed me so much. I don't accept it. Vegeta's face on one side was a little ugly. Of course, this was the thought in his heart, and Kakarot's surpassing him would also make him very unhappy. I didn't expect there to be one more now. Also he is a Saiyan. His title of the third oldest in 100 years is a real hammer. Chapter 52 Super Match. Side effects. Luya hit rhythmically and quickly, and directly suppressed him for a while. Although the other party had a flash, but under Luya's seamless suppression, he was also in a hurry and could only block the opponent's attack with his arm. Luya's face suddenly condensed, and then he kicked out, and the next moment, Hyder was directly shaken back. When Hit retreated, Luya played the prince's tactics frantically, and countless air bombs bombarded Hit. Hit gritted his teeth and insisted, and the one who was beaten could not fight back. Hit's chi is decreasing, Wukong suddenly said. Great. Go on like this, Luya will win. Kaylin said excitedly. Humph. Take advantage of this time to defeat him. Beerus said excitedly. Boom, boom, boom. After Luya fired countless air bombs in a row, he suddenly put his hands on his waist. Turtle. Send. Chi. Swish. For a time, a powerful chi condensed directly in his palm. Hit was able to breathe, and then he roared and exploded directly. Purple light wrapped around his body, and then his palm suddenly began to gather energy, and the purple ball of light continued to compress and strengthen. The power of both of them skyrocketed at this moment. Seeing this scene, Weiss and Vados understood that they were going to expand their moves, and they immediately used their divine power to maintain the enchantment. Luya didn't hold back at all at this time. He wanted to solve the battle with this full-power turtle Qigong. Hit is not weak, and his chi has also risen to the extreme at this time. At this moment, he also did not hold back at all. Bo! Suddenly, Luya roared, and the next moment, he suddenly launched the turtle Qigong, the full power level of the turtle Qigong. Drink! Hit did not show weakness, and directly launched the purple energy bomb in his hand. He knew that Luya's turtle school Qigong was too powerful, and the coverage area was too large. Even if he used the flash, he couldn't escape, so he could only face it hard. Boom! The purple energy bomb directly blocked Luya's turtle Qigong, but some fell into the disadvantage and were constantly pushed back. Luya roared with all his strength, constantly inputting powerful chi, maintaining the turtle Qigong and strengthening its power. Although Hit was at a disadvantage, he didn't give up at all but tried his best to resist. The purple energy on his body was swaying at this moment and it seemed like it was going to be blown away the next moment. The powerful air spreads out, and even if there is an enchantment blocking it, some cannot resist the opposing waves of the two. For a time, the entire enchantment suddenly cracked at this moment. The two angels also knew that there was no cure for the symptoms, so they gave up maintaining the barrier at the same time, and in the next instant they appeared in their respective camps and directly opened the protective cover. Without the injection of the power of the angel, the enchantment was instantly shattered under two huge forces. Wow! Everyone was affected by this powerful chi, but luckily they had the shield of an angel, otherwise, they would all suffer from this power. What a powerful force! Compared to me, it's even worse. Wukong looked at this scene solemnly. Although he used 10 times the combat power of the King's Fist and Luya now, but because of the relationship between physical fitness, so he can't display the power of the World King Boxing 10 times. On the contrary, because the World King Boxing consumes physical energy, and he has not yet successfully cultivated, Luya is much better than him. This kind of battle is really rare. And Beerus was also a little surprised, because he did not expect that the Saiyans could reach such a level. No, it should be said that a small realm king actually created such a trick. It really surprised him. But seeing Goku's appearance, Beerus glanced at Monaka again. It seemed, he was superfluous. Maybe Goku's goal doesn't require Monaka's participation. Beerus. On the field, a big explosion was inevitable, and even the referee didn't know which corner it was blown to. After the explosion smoke dissipated, the field was in a mess. At this point, the arena was already in tatters, and except for the audience seats on both sides, everything else had been destroyed. But what is strange is that this asteroid has not been destroyed by the shock of such terrifying forces of the two, which is surprising. Of course, this may also be because the two are just facing the waves, and they did not directly enter this planet, otherwise it should not be as easy as now. Bump. Suddenly, a figure knelt on the ground, gasping for breath. The breath on the body was very weak, and the consumption was huge. It's hit. In the face of Luya's full power output, it was very difficult for him to resist, and he almost couldn't stop it. And he was a little complicated in his heart, because originally he also imagined that he would take the opportunity to improve himself as he did with Sun Wukong before, but this time he failed. Why? He does not know. Obviously this time is not weaker than Sun Wukong's that time. Logically speaking, he should be able to stimulate the potential in his body. But this time it failed. Could it be that his potential has been fully stimulated? Hit was puzzled. Opposite him, Luya is also a little uncomfortable. At this time, he is also a little empty, his chest is up and down, and the full power output just now is also a huge consumption for him. Moreover, when his physical strength and chi descended, the side effects of Zhuang boxing were also manifested at this time, and he also felt muscle twitching now. Open black lens bracket drop. The host uses the King's Fist to transition. Side effects +10. Close black lens bracket. The system is open. It's hammered. Luya smiled bitterly. It seems that he really fought hard this time. If he doesn't improve again, I'm afraid it will be difficult to use 18 times the World King Fist again. Looking at Hit, Luya took a deep breath, and then said, Hit, it's time to decide the outcome. Hit stood up and took a few seconds to calm down. Then he looked at Luya. You are really strong. I'm no longer your opponent, but I won't give up easily. He has been a killer for so many years, and he has never known what defeat is like. Even Sun Wukong can't let him really lose. Now this powerful opponent makes him feel powerless. The #1 killer in the 6th universe, and also one of the best masters in the 6th universe, he has his own pride. Drink. Hit exploded his air violently, bursting out his last remaining energy, and in the next second, he slammed towards Luya and punched him in the air. Simultaneously cast flash. Invisible but tangible fists blasted out. Put all one's eggs in one basket. Speed, to the extreme. As soon as Luya gritted his teeth, he could only cross his hands to block. Boom. A huge collision sounded, and even Luya was rubbing the ground and retreating. When he stopped, there was a burst of smoke where Luya was hit, showing how strong Hit's punch was. At this time, when Hit used Shem, he had already come to Luya. Chapter 53_Final Victory. Universe 7 wins. When Luya resisted Hit's punch, the latter was already in front of him. One punch hit. Luya raised his hand and grabbed Hit's fist, and the other hand hit it directly. Bump. Hit staggered back 2 steps, and at the same time, he instantly condensed an energy bomb in his hand. Hit Luya fiercely. Luya's eyes are quick and his hands are fast, and he jumps in the body, then jumps into the air, dodging the energy bomb. Boom. With a burst of explosions, Luya's hands condensed at the same time, and then he merged his hands, shouted angrily, and sent a qigong wave directly. Hit stretched out his hands to resist, but his figure kept sliding back. Boom. Shish. Seeing the opportunity, Luya directly exploded, using the only remaining physical strength to frantically maintain the increase of the King's Fist, and at the same time increase the output. Hit's physical strength was not much left at this time. In the face of Luya's output, his figure actually trembled, unable to resist the powerful energy and kept slipping back. Turtle, Pi, Chi. Luya suddenly spoke, and at the same time, all his chi was delivered at this moment, and he charged a blow. Demonstrate the turtle school qigong again. He wants to let his opponents understand that not only are there rumors in the rivers and lakes that you can't fight Bo with the Sun family. And Fallujah. No, impossible. Shangpa couldn't calm down, and suddenly stood up in a cold sweat. If Hit loses, then they don't have another player. That's it, take advantage of it now. Defeat Hyder. Beerus exclaimed excitedly, abandoning the demeanor of the god of destruction. Gong. Luya roared, and the next moment, the power of that Qigong wave sword, more than doubled. Under such a powerful attack, Hyder could no longer resist, and the ring behind him couldn't bear it, and it broke into pieces and dissipated. And Hit himself was pushed hundreds of meters away by this Qigong wave. Boom. A big explosion sounded, accompanied by a mushroom cloud rising. When everyone in the seventh universe saw this scene, they immediately became ecstatic. The corners of Beerus' mouth rose, unable to hide the joy in his heart. There is nothing more gratifying than winning Zhang Fra. So strong, even if you can't transform into Super Saiyan Blue, you can still beat Hit. Luya's martial arts talent is even stronger than ours. Wukong looked at Luya with a sigh and said. But Vegeta's face was a little unsightly. Compared to the previous time when he turned into Super Blue and was defeated by Hit with a few tricks, Luya won against Hit, and he was still Hitter in his peak state. This gap made him very uncomfortable. No, impossible. How can Hit lose? I don't believe it. How can Saiyans be so powerful? Shangpa rubbed his head frantically with both hands, and said in exasperation. Originally thought that Sun Wukong was the trump card of the seventh universe, and he would be stable after defeating the opponent, but I didn't expect such a monster. What the hell are the Saiyans in the seventh universe? At this time, Luya was suspended in the air, gasping for breath. The move just now had almost exhausted his physical strength. Sudden. Mutants. The next moment, a strange figure suddenly appeared in front of Luya, and punched at an extremely fast speed. Oops. Luya was shocked, but he was powerless to resist. Bump. Wow. Luya was directly vomited. The body can be turned into a shrimp. How is that possible? Beerus and the others looked at this scene in shock, because the person who shot it turned out to be Hit. Why is he okay? It's great. Hit, like Pale, went crazy, but he didn't expect to go to heaven again. Hit looked at Luya and immediately said, "You are amazing, but I will also become stronger." At the moment when he was about to be pushed out of the world and hit the ground, Hit used a lot of power to use dodge, and then he escaped the Qigong wave. Luya clenched his teeth. This was something he didn't expect. The other party could still dodge, but he had to say it was too much. Painful, Luya suddenly roared, and the next moment, he burst into gas and grabbed Hit's fist directly. What? Hit was surprised, but he didn't expect the other party to resist. Luya threw it fiercely, and threw the opponent out the next moment. At the same time, a condensed gas bomb was suddenly in his hand, and he threw it violently, instantly blasting Hit into the air. Hit stopped forcibly. He knew that the other party was overdrawing his body. And it worked. Don't dare to hesitate. Hit's hands suddenly stretched out in the direction of Luya, directly launching a terrifying Qigong wave. Luya suddenly roared like a heartbreaker, and with only his last strength, he suddenly rose into the sky. Dragon. Fist. Swish. In the next second, Luya's body glowed with golden light, and rushed into Hit's Qigong wave like a fish, ignoring the opponent's Qigong wave and rushing to hit her. No, impossible. At this moment, even Hyder couldn't believe it. Of course, it's too late. Breakout. Luya roared and rushed in front of Hit, and the next moment, he slammed into Hit's stomach directly. Feeling the explosive power, Hit's face changed completely. Boom. With a loud explosion, Hit screamed, and a terrifying golden light rushed out from behind him. At the same time, it turned into a 5-clawed golden dragon and slowly dissipated, revealing Luya's figure. As for Hit's body, a blood hole appeared. Hit's body trembled, and it was unbelievable that such a powerful body would be directly smashed by the opponent. Dying. Weiss. On the audience stage, Wukong, who had come to his senses, suddenly said. Whis understood, and immediately appeared in front of Hit the next moment, and directly wrapped Hit's body with the power of an angel, which slowed down the opponent's loss of vitality a little. At this moment, everyone was shocked. Luya almost killed Hit. At this time, Wukong appeared in front of Hit and gave him a fairy bean. Soon, Hit's situation gradually improved. On the other side, Luya's figure also fell out of strength, but Goku soon appeared in front of him and gave him fairy beans. When Luya recovered, he took a deep breath. Thank you. Wukong laughed, and then said with a smile, you are too hard, you almost killed Hit. And what kind of trick did you use? Luya smiled slightly, I'll tell you later. Open black lens bracket drop. The host is overloaded with the 18th World King Fist. Side effects plus 5%. Hope the host pays attention. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket drop. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. Defeat Hit. Rewards are being distributed. Close black lens bracket. Reward 1 billion combat power points. Close black lens bracket. Reward Hit skill. Flash time. Current time control. 0.1 seconds. Reward the host 18 times the side effect of King Fist 5%, the current side effect, 10%. Note, once the side effects reach 100%, the Kaiwang Fist will automatically close the host and cannot be used. Once it reaches 50%, the host will use several times Kaiwang Fist, and the combat power can only exert 80%, and so on. Until the side effects reach 100%. In addition, the host can offset the side effect points through tasks. The specific situation is to be known. Open black lens bracket drop. As the host helped the 7th universe to win, extra rewards were given out. Close black lens bracket. Reward the host with 300 million combat power points. Close black lens bracket. Reward the Saiyan energy of the host's son Wukong and Vegeta. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket trigger system tasks. Mission content. Collect the power of 5 Saiyans. Become a Super Saiyan God. The current progress is 2/5 close black lens bracket. Swish. Luya took a deep breath and fell to the ground. But when he heard the system's words, Luya was taken aback. God of Super Saiyans. The red one. For the Super Saiyan God, Luya has an impression. That is, the power of 5 Saiyans is transformed into a Saiyan by merging special powers in the body. Can he too? Now that we have the energy of Sun Wukong and Vegeta, then Gohan, Trunks and Goten are left behind. After thinking about it, Luya ignored it, but was a little excited. Nima. He really got Hit's flash. Although it is only 0.1 seconds of time control, it is also very dangling. When flashing, smash the existence of Super Blue. But he understands that after this lesson, Goku and Vegeta will practice targeted training, so maybe the normal flash time has no effect on the two of them, so he must become more powerful. Although there is no Super Blue transformation reward, it is very good to have this. As for Super Blue, let's transform into the Super Saiyan God first. Take it step by step. When he came back to his senses, he noticed the cheers of the crowd, and then looked into the distance. At this point, Hit has recovered, but his condition is not very good. Seeing Luya, he also looked at him. After a few seconds, Hit closed his eyes slightly, and appeared on the broken ring in the next second. I lost. Luya smiled slightly. You are very strong. Hit glanced at Luya, and then said, you are also very strong. Next time, I will become even stronger, so when the time comes, I hope to fight with you again. Mouth rose. Of course. Hit looked at him, immediately thought of something, looked at Wukong, and said, this time the harvest is not small, it is my honor to be able to meet you, and because of this, I broke through myself. He knows how much potential he has, but he can't liberate it by himself, because he can't find an opponent. This time, the battle with Sun Wukong and Luya has given him a lot of pressure, so he will break through himself under the limit. Luya sighed a little. Hit, what a proud person, would say such a thing. Hit nodded to him, didn't say anything more, his figure flashed, and he went directly to the Sixth Universe auditorium. The referee got out of nowhere, ran over in dismay, and said, I declare that in this match between Universe 6 and Universe 7, Universe 7 wins. Oh oh oh, Krillin and the others all cheered. At this time, Shampa's face was as if a storm was coming. Black as the bottom of a pot. P.S. If I disappear one day, will you miss me? Chapter 54 _ The game is over. The apex of the universe. The king is coming. Woohoo. A trace of divine aura rose from under his feet, and Shampa's expression was extremely cold at this time. The performance of Hit and others made him very humiliated. In other words, he was like a par and could not accept losing. You bastards, unexpectedly, you lost to the 7th universe. I'm so disappointed, Shampa said gloomily. He was also a little annoyed. If they didn't cancel the rule of killing, they would have won. Hit fell to the ground and immediately looked at Shampa. I don't want the cube anymore, let me go back. Hee hee, how can it be so simple? You guys, I've lost all face. If that's the case, then there is no need for you to exist. Shampa suddenly condensed a sabotage bullet in his hand, raised his hand, aimed at Hit. The faces of the golden bears suddenly changed greatly, and they stood up quickly, ready to meet the anger of Shampa, because they knew that they might be destroyed together. Hit looked at Shampa with an expressionless face, but his eyes became cold. Is that true? Damn, why? Wukong on the other side couldn't stand it any longer, and suddenly clenched his fists, ready to help. At this time, Beerus appeared in front of Wukong, turned his back to him, and said indifferently, it is undeniable that you have performed well, but you are no longer qualified to intervene in the current affairs. The god of destruction does things, mortals intervene, the consequences be conceded. But, Wukong frowned tightly. Hit is a martial arts master he has finally made friends with, and the character of the other party is also very appetizing to him. If he gets along well, it is possible to become a close friend, so he does not want to see the system killed like this. Secondly, he was very unhappy with the practice of the god of destruction. Hit and the others helped the warriors of the 6th universe to fight to the end. Now that they lose, they plan to discard them like chess pieces and destroy them. This is simply not something that a god can do. Beerus turned to look at Goku. I repeat, don't mind your own business. Goku. Sensing Beerus' signs of anger, Goku was silent, but his fists were still tightly clenched. Below, Luya looked at the situation on both sides, then glanced in a certain direction, and then moved for a while, as if he saw something incredible. Luya quickly retracted his eyes and pretended not to see it. On the other side, the sabotage bomb in Shampa's hand has solidified, and at the same time, he said disdainfully, you are just a group of chess pieces. Especially you, Hit. You have disobeyed my orders many times. Now that there are no more value, then destroy it. Quote. Hit gritted his teeth and looked at the elephant, and withdrew his heels slightly, preparing for a fierce battle. Lord Shampa. At this moment, Vados suddenly said. Shampa was in a fit of rage, so naturally he ignored it and continued chattering. I've lost my face one by one, and if that's the case, then it's all destroyed. Come on, whatever tricks you use, Super Saiyans will too. Alright, let's see if I can destroy you. Quote. Lord Shampa. Vados' voice came again. What? Don't bother me. Shampa looked at Vados angrily. Vados pointed in one direction and gestured towards Shampa. Shampa looked over in annoyance and didn't know what he saw. Suddenly, Shampa's eyes suddenly widened, and he let out a scream like killing a pig. His whole body trembled like an electric shock. Beerus was still thinking about stopping Wukong, worried that Wukong would do something bad. Suddenly, Whis whispered, Lord Beerus, look over there. Over there? What happened over there? Beerus was stunned for a moment, then looked over curiously, and immediately, his reaction was the same as that of Papa, terrified. The real-world king who was watching the battle in the auditorium also saw it, and immediately, the spirits of the old real-world king flew up. I didn't know when. There were 3 figures standing not far away. 2 of them looked very similar, and they looked indifferent like the shrinking of Teletubbies. There is also a very short-looking child. He is wearing a purple-red robe. The clothes in front of his stomach have 2 full characters upside down. His head is like an egg. There are 3 vertical lines divided into 2 colors. Purple middle blue. Who is that kid? He looks so bad. At this moment, the real-world king in the audience suddenly whispered to the old real-world king. The old Zhuangshan's body froze, and then he slapped the Zhuangshan's head with a violent slap. 8088. Bag. Shut your mouth. He is the king of Chenzhou. Lord Quanwang. The supreme god who is higher than the god of destruction. The old king of the realm taught. What? When the realm king heard the words, his face changed greatly, and he even had the heart to cut his own tongue. Cheat. Deceive people. That's. Beerus trembled, his body trembling instinctively. No, impossible. That one is. Shangpa also looked frightened and panicked. In the next second, the 2 gods of destruction exclaimed, yes. King of the whole. A person who looks like a child. Vegeta hugged her chest, puzzled. Who is that? Piccolo also asked. Beerus said solemnly. Master Quanwang, that's the one who reigns over the 12 universes. No, it's a god. The supreme god. The man who stands at the top of all gods. What? Vegeta and Piccolo's expressions changed drastically. Everyone's faces changed too. King of all. By the way, Lord Beerus, we are standing at such a high place and looking at Lord Quanwang, isn't it bad? Weiss said slowly. Say, what are you talking about? Beerus broke into a cold sweat. In the next instant, Beerus and Elephant Pa took the brunt and appeared directly in front of the child. At the same time, they bent at a 90-degree angle, their posture was textbook level, and they were as well behaved as elementary school students. Welcome to visit, Lord Quanwang. Yeah, King Quan's expression remained the same, with an innocent look, and his voice was even more like a child's. Weiss and Vados also appeared behind the 2 gods of destruction. Greetings from a long time, Lord Quanwang. Weiss said hello. Yeah, King Quan replied. Stay safe, Lord Quanwang. Vados continued. Replied with all his strength, no other language. At this time, the realm of the 6th universe and the realm of the 7th universe also flew over, without any nonsense, and knelt down directly. Quan, Lord Quanwang, the old realm king said in a trembling voice. Yeah, King Quan nodded lightly. Beerus asked, Dare to ask Lord Quanwang. What are you doing here this time? Quanwang said. This time, because you guys held a match here, I'm here to remind you. Yes, Beerus and Shangpa responded quickly. King Quan smiled and said, Destroy the work of God, you can't be lazy. Yes, Beerus and Shangpa said quickly. Wait, Lord Quanwang, I want to report it. Lord Beerus doesn't cause damage, and only focuses on taking naps and food. Whis suddenly said. Hearing this, the sweat on Beerus' face continued to fall like a stream of water. But he cursed in his heart. Good you Weiss. You wait for me, it's like you didn't eat delicious food. The slave family should also report. Mr. Shangpa doesn't pay attention to his health, eats indiscriminately and excessively eats food, which has caused his figure to lose shape now. I persuaded him, but he still doesn't listen, haha. Vados suddenly continued. Shangpa's heart is full of 10,000 grass Nima horses galloping, and he is panicking now. I almost forgot, the duty of an angel is to supervise the god of destruction. After listening to the words of the 2 angels, King Quan fell into deep thought, and then said, then let's change to a god of destruction. Hearing this, Beerus and Shangpa panicked to the extreme, and there was fear. Done. They are getting cold. Chapter 55_agreed. Come to an end. At this time, King Quan said again, just kidding. The 2 brothers breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. I am so surprised. And, King Quan suddenly spoke again. Yes. The two gods of destruction responded quickly. At this time, they completely lost the air of god of destruction. They only had full respect and fear. Quan Wang smiled and said, I watched the match between the two universes. It was very interesting. Thank you Lord Quan Wang for your praise. The two gods of destruction said in sync. So, I plan to summon all the masters of the universe next time to fight again. King Quan suddenly said, with some anticipation in his tone. Really? Suddenly, an excited voice came. The gods were startled and quickly looked around. I saw Wukong suddenly came over. Is it true? Are all the masters of the universe here? Fight! Fight! Seeing him walking towards King Quan, the two gods of destruction were immediately stunned. The secret path was not good, but it was too late to react. Swish! Suddenly, the two guards next to King Quan suddenly stopped Goku. As if Wukong takes a step closer, he will ruthlessly destroy him. Wukong was stunned for a moment, a little puzzled. I want to talk to him, can't I? The two guards shook their heads. Wukong pleaded, just let me have a word with Lord Quan Wang. The two guards still shook their heads and refused, and there were already signs of a shot. Idiot, be honest with me, Lord Quan Wang is so noble, how can such a mortal get close? Beerus scolded. It's okay, it's okay. King Quan suddenly said. What? Beerus, Chengpa and the gods were all surprised. King Quan walked up to Wukong and immediately said, you guys played very well. Wukong smiled, thank you. Then let's play a match. In the near future, a match between universes. Quan Wang looked at Wukong and laughed. Wukong said excitedly, okay. It's a word. As he spoke, he extended a friendly hand towards King Quan. Beerus and Champa watched this scene with highs and lows. It was like a roller coaster, and they were extremely afraid. This rude guy, even Beerus at this time, wanted to bury Goku. Just when everyone thought that Wukong had offended King Quan Wang, King Quan suddenly hesitated, and then he also reached out and held Wukong's hand. Ha ha! Wukong laughed happily, grabbed King Quan and shook it, and his small body was lifted up. Ah! Beerus and Champa became nervous again. The mouth seems to fit into a bowl. Goku, you are so rude, Beerus said angrily. It's okay. King Quan didn't mean to blame, but looked at Wukong. You are very interesting. Ha ha, you're funny too, Wukong praised. Okay, I'm going back. King Quan nodded. Ah, see you later. Wukong waved his hand. Master Quan Wang has worked hard. King Quan walked between the two guards, and then they turned into a streamer and disappeared at the end of the universe. As soon as King Quan left, the repressed atmosphere in the arena finally relaxed, and Beerus and Champa breathed a sigh of relief as if they had escaped death. Suddenly, Beerus rushed in front of Wukong and lifted Wukong's collar. Hey! You kid! How dare you be so rude to Lord Quan Wang? Wukong was stunned. It's nothing. It's nothing. If Lord Quan Wang is angry, not only all of us present, even the universe will disappear. Champa said angrily. Wukong raised his eyebrows, then said, I don't think he looks like that kind of person. But, Champa looked at Wukong with gritted teeth. Hey, has Mr. Goku always been like this? Gabe asked, approaching Vegeta. Vegeta frowned, and then said, ah, that guy, that's how bad it is. Everyone. Luya looked at the direction where King Quan disappeared and remained silent. In fact, he was shocked inside. Because just now he was going to use the system to detect the strength of King Quan, but there was no way to detect it. What does this mean? It means that the power of King Quan has exceeded the detection of the system. Too arrogant. At this time, Beerus said with a little interest, even if you win the game, you are not so happy. That's right, Champa quickly echoed. This time it's even a warm-up match, and the match won't start until the match held by Lord Quan Wang. So it doesn't matter if you lose. Take the opportunity to get out. But how could Beerus give him a chance? Snorted coldly, and said, "Humph. No matter what, if you lose, you have to keep your promise and keep the super wishing pearl." Shampa gritted his teeth, and then said proudly, "Don't worry, I don't need your reminder. The wishing beads will be given to you as a reward. But the last one is still missing, you won't find it so easily." "Humph, I won't bother you anymore," Beerus sneered. Shampa gritted his teeth angrily, and immediately said, "Let's go." Immediately he looked at Hit and the others, "You all go too. If you don't come to the next match of Lord Quanwang, then you will all die." Gabe and the others looked at each other. Is this not killing them? Seeing Shampa turn and leave without killing them, everyone felt at ease. The other party really stopped killing them. Gabe came to Vegeta. "Master, you must come to our planet when you have time." Vegeta was stunned for a moment, then said proudly, "I don't remember when I became your master." "Got it, master." Gabe didn't care about Vegeta's arrogance. The other side. "Hey, Hit." Wukong came to Hit and said, "Let's fight again next time." Hit glanced at Wukong, then glanced at Luya not far away, and closed his eyes slightly. "I want to retreat, I'm not interested for the time being." After saying that, he turned and left. "Ha ha ha, let's make an appointment next time. Bye." Wukong watched them with a smile. Chapter 56_Luya's Plan. Goten's Master. After everyone who watched the sixth universe left, the atmosphere in the field returned to a relaxed state. "Boo, you're awake." On the other hand, Satan happily circled around Boo. Fato said with a smile, "Yeah. I slept so well this night. It's a pity that what is called also helped Lord Satan win the game." Satan said indifferently, "It's okay, we've won anyway." Boo nodded. At this moment, Monaka came over. Satan was shocked when he saw him, but he heard Lord Beerus say that this man is a super expert who is stronger than Goku. "If you are fooling. No, if you invite the other party to join you, wouldn't you be happy? The world champion is hammered." The more Satan thought about it, the more feasible he felt, and suddenly he pulled Monaka with an amiable smile. Your name is Monaka, right? I am Satan, the strongest man on earth." Monaka wondered how he was stopped by someone. Hearing that the other party was the strongest man on earth, and thinking of the performance of Sun Wukong, who is also an Earthman, he nodded slightly. "Yes. My name is Monaka." Satan organized the language, and then said, I want to formally invite you to come to me as a spokesperson for the image. I wonder if you are willing." Monaka was stunned for a moment, then quickly refused, shook his head and said, "No need, I have my own job." Satan was stunned for a moment, still a little unwilling to give up. "Be my image spokesperson, the salary is good." Hearing this, Monaka's eyes moved. She thought of something, and shook her head. "I'm not short of money now." Satan is gone. "Hey, Monaka, so you're here." At this moment, Wukong ran over in excitement and grabbed Monaka's hand. "Come and fight with me. I didn't see you make a move this time. I'm curious about your strength. So be sure to compete with me." As soon as Monaka saw Sun Wukong, he remembered when the other party made waves before. His face suddenly turned purple, and he quickly broke free. But Wukong refused to let him go, grabbed Monaka's hand tightly, and wanted him to agree to the competition. On the other side, Beerus also suddenly noticed the situation here. When he saw Wukong found Monaka, his face changed suddenly. He appeared behind Wukong in an instant, and slapped him. "Ah, it hurts so much. Lord Beerus, why are you hitting me again?" Goku said displeased. Beerus said angrily, "Idiot. Didn't I say you can't get close to Monica?" Beerus' roar immediately attracted everyone's attention, and when they saw this picture, the people who knew it suddenly changed their expressions and leaned over. Wukong said depressedly, "But I also want to compete with Monaka." Beerus's face was sweating coldly, and he suddenly became a little flustered. Wukong looked at Monaka and smiled. "Hey Monaka. Be my opponent." Monaka ignored him, But there was a cold sweat on his face, and he was so scared that he didn't know how to move. No, absolutely not, Beerus interrupted directly. Why? Wukong asked in confusion. Beerus thought for a while, and then made up a reason. Monaka has not completed his spiritual unification, because when Lord Quanwang arrived just now, he interrupted Monaka's practice, so his current state is not the best. Top, you don't want Monaka to play with you in this state, do you? In the end, Beerus felt that it was more and more reasonable, and he straightened his back suddenly, as if telling the lie directly to the truth. As the saying goes, if you want to prevent a lie from being exposed, you must cover it up with another lie. This is how Beerus feels now. Wukong thought for a moment, then nodded. It does make sense. Yeah, Beerus took the opportunity to say. Everyone was speechless. Wukong is indeed a single-celled creature. Even Luya, who already knew Goku's character, couldn't help but laugh. But Lord Beerus, when can I fight Monaka? Goku said sadly. Well, Beerus pondered for a while, and then he was afraid that the other party would hold on to Monica again, so he could only say, well, after Monica is convenient, I will arrange Monica and Monica you fight. But until then, you can't fight him. Understand? Hearing this, Wukong was immediately satisfied. Okay. Then I'll wait for the news from Lord Beerus, haha. Beerus breathed a sigh of relief. Facing this guy, he really abandoned the quality of God. Ho ho, Beerus-sama, you seem to be less and less like the god of destruction recently, and your mood fluctuated so much. Weiss whispered. Beerus snorted coldly and said, isn't there anything I can do? This kid is too difficult to deal with. Weiss asked secretly, then when are you going to arrange their competition? Beerus' face stiffened, but he recovered quickly and said, let's talk about this later. At this time, Luya suddenly came over. He looked at Wukong, and immediately said, Wukong, can I trouble you with one thing? Wukong was stunned for a moment, then smiled, ah. Come on, how can you say that you are also the benefactor of our Earth? If it weren't for you, our entire Earth would probably have emigrated. Everyone also smiled knowingly. They thought so too. Even Wukong lost. If there is no Luya to turn the tide, it would be very difficult for them to win. Luya smiled slightly, and then said, that's it, I have nowhere to go, can you let me be your son Washin's teacher? Let me teach them to practice. What? As soon as these words came out, not only Wukong, but others were a little surprised, and they didn't understand why Luya wanted to do this. Wukong asked suspiciously, why is this? Luya, how could you have such an idea? Luya smiled slightly, I considered your friend now. To be honest, I have to integrate into your side, otherwise I have a very low sense of existence. And I also hope to learn from you when I teach Washin. Hearing this, Wukong's eyes suddenly lit up. What a great idea. Not to mention the reason for the opponent's front, the contest in the back alone is very tempting. There is no need to say that Luya's strength is strong, so if he can compete with him often, it will be of great benefit to him. No, I don't agree. At this time, Chi-Chi rushed out of the crowd and roared almost like a tigress. I don't agree. That child of Washin can only study hard. What martial arts? With you as a father isn't that enough? Wukong smiled awkwardly. That Kikiha, I. Stop talking. No matter what you say, I won't agree. Kiki said angrily. Wukong. Luya. Everyone. Chapter 57_look for. 7th Super Dragon Ball. Seeing this man who is enough to perform 10 times the king's boxing in front of a woman, everyone can't help laughing. Looking at this scene, Piccolo didn't know what to think. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he subconsciously took a few steps back to prevent the war from affecting him. Huh, Kakarot, you have today too. Vegeta looked at Wukong with gloating, then looked at Luya. Hey. Come to my side, my son Trunks is more talented than Goshen. A lot, I can allow you to be his master. Luya raised his eyebrows, then fell into contemplation. The reason why he made this request is to obtain the special energy of Goten and Trunks, so that he can gather the power of 5 Saiyans, and then transform into the Super Saiyan God. Of course, although Vegeta's attitude made him a little uncomfortable, he didn't care. As long as he gained energy, then he was done. Thinking of this, Luya nodded. At this time Bulma suddenly stepped forward and said with some dissatisfaction, "Hey Vegeta. Trunks is my son, can you ask my opinion?" Corners of Vegeta's mouth twitched slightly, and then she said coldly, "What? What's your opinion?" Bulma hugged his chest and said, "Humph. I've already made up my mind that I want to train Trunks to be my company's successor." Hearing this, Vegeta staggered and said incredulously, "What? Hey, can't you do that kind of thing yourself? We are dignified Saiyans, proud warriors. How can we manage it? Such a thing." Chi-Chi suddenly snorted and said, "What's the matter? My Gohan didn't study hard and became a scholar." Goku and Vegeta are both speechless. These two women are really... Ha ha. It seems that even though the practice has reached such a high level, there are still weaknesses. Beerus, who was watching this scene not far away, smiled lightly, as if he was watching a play. Ho ha ho ho, it's really not easy, it's the one who slapped Lord Beerus. Weiss suddenly added the knife. Beerus froze when he heard it. Hey. Wes. Don't mention the past. Ho ha ho ho, Weiss covered his mouth and laughed smugly. No, I will never agree to put Trunks in your company to be decadent. Vegeta protested. What? Wouldn't it be better to follow you all day long? Besides, you and Wukong are already so strong now, and the Earth has your protection, aren't we very relieved? Bulma said lightly. HMPH. Protecting the Earth is Kakarot's business. What does it have to do with Lao Su? Vegeta said with a stinky face. Wukong also protested. I have no interest in protecting the Earth, I just want to fight against a powerful opponent. Improve myself. Besides, isn't there Klein to protect the Earth? Krillin. Nima. Rely on him. If he really relied on him, I'm afraid he was killed before he could ask for help. Hey, it's up to you, but that kid has to practice with me in the future, so if you are tossing, don't blame me for being rude. Vegeta said stinky. How can you be rude? Bulma said proudly, pinching the other party to the death. Ah, if this is the case, then there is no way out for the time being, sorry Luya. Wukong looked at Luya. Luya shook his head, it doesn't matter. He sighed inwardly, and sure enough, these two proud Saiyans still have nemesis. Hey, are you finished? Now you're ready to get down to business. Beerus suddenly said. Everyone looked at him. Beerus said lightly, now that we have won 6 wishing beads from the 6th universe, we are just short of the last one. Only by collecting all 7 can we summon the super dragon. Hearing this, everyone suddenly became excited, and they subconsciously looked at the golden dragon ball that was comparable to the size of an asteroid. Spectacular. By the way, where is the 7th wishing bead? Wukong asked suspiciously. Beerus thought for a while, then looked at Bulma. Hey Bulma, take out your Dragon Ball radar. Bulma was stunned for a moment, then quickly said, okay. After she finished speaking, she took out a capsule and pressed it immediately. With a bang, she saw a more ordinary Dragon Ball radar appear in her hand. When everyone saw this, they all came together. Let me see, Bulma muttered to herself, then activated the Dragon Ball radar. Drip, 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 drip. The yellow light spot on the radar continued to expand, and suddenly, Bulma exclaimed, how is it possible? What's wrong? Beerus hurriedly approached after hearing the words. Bulma said embarrassedly, maybe. The radar is damaged. What? Idiot. Let me see. Beerus was shocked, and immediately grabbed the radar in Bulma's hand, but when he saw what was displayed on the radar, he was stunned. What do you mean? Lord Beerus, what's wrong? Whis came behind Beerus and asked. Beerus pointed to the radar and said, it's strange, there are only 6 wishing balls here, but why is the radar showing 7? Hearing this, Weiss was stunned, and everyone was stunned. Luya glanced at Monaka, then glanced at the ground again, and smiled. Yeah, what's going on? Seeing this scene, Weiss pondered rarely. At this moment, Monaka suddenly walked up to Wes and pulled his sleeve. That. Oh, what's wrong? Weiss looked at Monaka suspiciously. Monaka glanced at the Dragon Ball radar, made a gesture, and then said, I often look at the map of the universe. Generally, this must be viewed from a three-dimensional perspective. Stereoscopic angle. Weiss was taken aback and confirmed. Monaka nodded affirmatively. Moment of contemplation. Weiss' eyes suddenly lit up. I understand. What do you understand, Weiss? Beerus looked at him in confusion. People are also puzzled. Weiss suddenly smiled and said, I already know the whereabouts of the seventh wishing bead. What? Really? Beerus asked hastily. What the hell is that? Piccolo asked. The asteroid we are standing on is the seventh wishing bead. That's why the radar shows 7 Dragon Balls. Luya said suddenly. Ah. Everyone was startled, and immediately looked at their feet. That's right. This is a three-dimensional space structure. Weiss smiled slightly, then looked at them. Everyone, get on the cube. At this time, a giant cube appeared in the field. P.S. Haha, in fact, if I disappear as I said before, it is not what you think, I am still there, and the update will not be interrupted. Watching the Olympic Games these past few days, my heart doesn't want it. I'm also very excited to see our country fighting so hard. Impressed. I'm even more excited than the readers who gave me the certification of the great God. All I can say is, China is awesome. In addition, if I normally update the 5-a-day update except for the explosive update, will you smash the gift on me? Author. Woo woo woo, I go to bed late and get up early, just to try my best to code words. Kidney overdraft is a common occurrence. Can I receive the certification of the great God in my lifetime? Reader. Of course. This gives the author a great God certification. Ask for a reward every day. Hit me hard, I will never fight back. Brothers and sisters who are still studying, especially those who are young, you should consume wisely, and if you are happy, just send a call for love. Thank you for your support. Chapter 58 _ Super Wishing Beads, collect all. Everyone hurriedly entered the square, and then Wes floated up, and then he stepped on the square. The next moment, he waved the scepter, and the whole square flew directly. Gradually, everyone moved away from the arena, and they also saw the appearance of Super Dragon Ball from the outside, and received a great visual impact. Dragon Balls, like asteroids, are rare in this life, and they are considered lucky. But what they were puzzled was that the abandoned asteroid they originally competed with was about the same size as those Super Dragon Balls. Hey, Wes, what did you bring us up for? Beerus exclaimed. Weiss smiled slightly and then said, just look at Beerus-sama. As he said that, he suddenly waved his scepter and said something in his mouth. For a time, the power of a pale green angel surrounded Wes's scepter. Wes glanced at the asteroid, and then raised the staff towards it. A ray of light shot out directly, and finally fell into the asteroid. Under the suspicious eyes of everyone, suddenly, a mutation suddenly occurred. I saw that the planet that was like a ball of earth suddenly trembled. Not only that, but cracks gradually appeared on its surface. The next moment, the rock and soil on the surface of the planet suddenly shattered, and then drifted away. The divine light suddenly appeared, and the rock and soil spewed like a volcanic eruption. Wow, what's the situation? Bulma and others changed their expressions. Could it be? Piccolo thought for a while, then said in surprise. That's right. This asteroid is the 7th super wishing bead. Weiss smiled slightly and said, that's why there are only 6 wishing beads and 7 on the radar. It's amazing. I didn't expect the real wishing beads to step on our feet. Bulma sighed. It's also thanks to the boy like Panna. If it wasn't for him, we'd have to spend a lot of time finding the 7th wishing bead. Beerus said lightly, although he was surprised, it was nothing feels. The question is why did it become like this? Wukong asked in confusion. At this time, Luya smiled slightly, and then said, it should be after the last wish. Dragon Ball disappeared automatically after the wish was completed. When it disappeared, Dragon Ball smashed an asteroid with a similar size. So that asteroid's ashes also cover the original appearance of Dragon Ball. Piccolo also nodded in agreement. Yes, this is actually similar to the Earth Dragon. Everyone understands. At this time, under the chatter of everyone, the huge Dragon Ball returned to its original appearance at this time. It's a Super Dragon Ball. And now, all 7 wishing beads have been collected. Haha, it's finally gathered. Beerus smiled slightly. Everyone was also amazed. Super Dragon Ball is huge like a planet, but in the universe, it seems so small. How big is the universe? Luya looked at this Super Dragon Ball and was also a little eager. This Super Dragon Ball is a very powerful existence. Any wish can come true. And even the disappeared universe can be resurrected. Wouldn't it be so cool if it made him something like this? With Xiao Juju in his heart, Luya watched the 7 Dragon Balls. The 7 Super Dragon Balls rotate around each other to form a hexagon, and the 4 planets are in between the hexagons. Dragon Balls are gathered. It's time to witness the miracle again. Wes, quickly summon the dragon, Beerus suddenly said. Wes showed a hint of helplessness. Sir Beerus, I'm sorry, I can't summon a dragon. Beerus' face stiffened, then he looked at Bulma and said. Bulma, you should know how to summon a dragon, right? Bulma hesitated for a moment, then said, I can tell you how to summon the dragon, but you must not be able to make a wish, especially a wish to destroy the universe. Beerus said impatiently, I know, I'm bored. Don't worry, I won't do such a thing. Hearing this, Bulma was relieved, and immediately said, the way to summon the dragon is to communicate with the Dragon Ball in the divine language, and finally shout, I want to send it. Then the dragon will come out. Hearing this, Beerus pondered for a moment, then looked at Whis, summon. Hearing this, Whis nodded lightly, and then he swung his scepter. Immediately afterwards, a sacred aura burst out from his body. Immediately after that, Whis' face became serious and said in divine language, come out. Shenlong. Quack quack. The field suddenly fell into silence, and everyone couldn't help but be a little confused. What does this mean? Did it fail? Suddenly at this moment, the 7 beads suddenly emitted a golden light. Under the golden brilliance, all 7 beads suddenly lit up. They radiated dazzling golden light, and then the hexagonal Dragon Ball suddenly transferred all its power to the 4 planets in the middle. This is a response. Everyone held their breath, because they knew that the real existence standing at the top of this world was preparing to come out. Suddenly, the 7 Dragon Balls were directly wrapped in golden light, and the golden light was constantly expanding. It's getting more and more dazzling. Everyone, protect your eyes. Wukong blocked the dazzling light with his hands. Everyone is cooking. Beerus is nothing, he is used to seeing Dragon Ball, and he is not surprised by this. In a short while, this space trembled violently at this moment, and suddenly, a powerful force spread out, followed by a powerful breath. Whis' eyes narrowed, and then he waved his hand slightly, and then the scepter in his hand also emitted a weak green light, and immediately wrapped the whole block and retreated towards the back. After retreating to a safe area, they all watched this spectacular scene. Especially Bulma, because for her as a scientist, this kind of thing is very valuable for research. Wukong looked at this scene and smiled slightly. This scene reminds me of things from when I was a child. At that time, Dragon Balls on Earth were very difficult to find. It's not like it is now, it's so easy to find. Yeah, the days when I went to find Dragon Ball with Goku and you were really nostalgic. It's been so many years now. Time flies so fast, Bulma said with emotion. Haha, actually Bulma, you are not that old. Wukong laughed. Bulma was instantly furious. Wukong. What nonsense are you talking about? Haha. Wukong smiled awkwardly. Aside, Vegeta's eyelids twitched violently, and she had a bad premonition. Why do you feel like your head is green? Chapter 59_closing. Bulma's invitation. When everyone sighed at these 7 giants, suddenly, the 7 wishing beads burst into a dazzling golden light at this moment. The golden light wrapped the 7 wishing beads, and then, the golden light was as dazzling as the sun, and then, a huge figure condensed in the form of golden light. It was a fuzzy dragon shadow. Roar. A loud dragon roar resounded through the starry sky, and the entire universe heard this dragon roar at this moment. It was very spectacular. At the same time, a golden dragon roamed the universe, and the planets were just tiny balls in its eyes. When it opened its huge mouth, it swallowed a planet. At the same time, Wukong and others were also sucked into the endless abyss by this mouthful. What's going on? Wukong and the others changed their expressions. They thought they were swallowed by the super dragon. Don't panic, we are entering the inner world of Shenlong, where we can really see the figure of Shenlong. At this moment, Weiss suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone felt a little relieved. I don't know how long it took. Everyone saw a huge golden dragon suspended in the darkness, and the holy light emitted was extremely sacred, as if to illuminate the universe. The dragon summoned by the Super Dragon Ball. Piccolo, as a Namekian, is very familiar with Dragon Ball, but now, when he sees the appearance of this Super Dragon Ball, he sincerely feels himself of insignificance. Whether it is the divine dragon of the earth or the divine dragon of the Namek planet, it cannot be compared with the present divine dragon. It's no wonder that Dragon Balls on Earth are only made from fragments of Super Dragon Balls. It's so surprising. Okay, now you can make a wish. Lord Beerus, Weiss said slowly, holding a cane in one hand and the other on his back. Beerus nodded lightly, then looked at the super dragon, and said thoughtfully, the wish of the wishing beads must be in the language of our gods to be effective. Yes, Beerus-sama, you should hurry up and make a wish, but you can't make any bad wishes secretly. Do you understand this sentence? Bulma suddenly reminded. Beerus could only nod his head. Got it. Don't repeat it so much with me. Saying that, he looked at Wes and said, Hey Wes. You promise me? I said, you promise. Weiss nodded. Yes, Beerus-sama. After hesitating for a while, Beerus organized the language, and then spoke to Shenlong a bunch of words that Goku and others couldn't understand. Everyone. Luya was also full of astonishment. He didn't feel it if he didn't see it. He was startled when he saw it. It was like the language of birds. And soon, Beerus stopped the bird chat and said to Weiss, That's it. Weiss raised his eyebrows in surprise, then said nothing. Yes. After he finished speaking, he talked with Shenlong. Of course, he used divine language and added some special rhythms. After stopping, Weiss looked at the dragon, waiting for its response. Om. At this time, the super dragon's bewitching red eyes suddenly glowed red, and in just 2 seconds, it was restored to its original state. The super dragon looked at Wes and said in a divine language, The wish has been fulfilled, farewell. Weiss bowed slightly. As soon as the voice fell, the super dragon roared into the sky, and at this moment, the entire universe resounded with its dragon roar. Swish. Immediately afterwards, the super dragon became illusory, turned into 7 super dragon balls, and shot out in 7 different directions in the next second. No one knows where they are going. Is it over? Wukong's puzzled voice sounded under the silent starry sky. Ah, it should be. Piccolo responded. What? It just feels lonely. By the way, what is your wish, Lord Beerus? Bulma said helplessly, then looked at Beerus. It's a secret, Beerus said with a faint smile. What secret? Don't tell me. We won the Super Dragon Ball back, let's reveal it anyway. Bulma was dissatisfied and said angrily. That's it. Lord Beerus, the cheapskate, what's there to hide? Wukong was also dissatisfied. Hey, well, since you want to know so much, then I'll tell you, I just asked Shenlong for a comfortable bed. Beerus said proudly. What? Everyone was dumbfounded, but they didn't expect such a result. Idiot, I can fulfill this request at will. You just wasted this opportunity. Bulma reacted and was immediately angry. What? You dare to call me an idiot? Woman, am I being too indulgent to you? Do I want to be destroyed? Beerus said angrily. Bulma was not afraid, and said indifferently, is it good? I can make your wish come true. It would be better to use Super Dragon Ball as a beneficial event. HMPH. Anyway, the wish has been made. No matter how much. This trip is over, Whis, let's go back. Beerus greeted. Yes, Beerus-sama. Whis smiled slightly, and then drove the cube to shuttle directly. What? Bulma sighed. It's a waste of time. I don't think so. I'm very excited to see the masters from other universes this time. I look forward to fighting with them next time. Wukong smiled, with a strong excitement in his eyes. Humph. Single-celled organisms. Bulma snorted coldly. It was originally. Is it Luya? Wukong laughed and then looked at Luya. Luya came back to his senses and nodded immediately. Ah, yes. By the way, what are your plans after you go back? Wukong asked curiously. Luya thought for a while, and then said, I'll stay in the Temple of Heaven for the time being. Goku understood. Well, Luya, you don't have a place to live, right? Since you performed well this time, I decided to give you a house, how about it? At this moment, Bulma suddenly said. Luya was stunned, not understanding what the woman was thinking. This. Don't worry, I don't usually live in that house, and it's useless to leave it there. You're always bored in the Temple of Heaven. Why don't you live down there? And it's also close to my house. You can come when you're free. Let's learn from Vegeta, Bulma said with a playful smile. She is also a little selfish. After all, Vegeta is so behind Goku this time, and she was surpassed by Luya. She wants to help Vegeta improve her strength, at least it won't make Vegeta too embarrassed. Humph. Vegeta snorted coldly, not knowing what the woman was thinking. Luya thought for a while, but also felt that he couldn't just practice blindly, he still had to live a good life, so he said, okay. Thank you then. Chapter 60 _ Celebration Feast. Name Monaka. At the same time, Vados, who was rushing back to the 6th universe, was suddenly stunned, and saw that her scepter suddenly lit up with green light. What's the matter? Vados was a little curious, and then glanced at what was happening in the crystal ball of the scepter, and suddenly, her face brightened. Brush. There was a sudden stop in the space block that was still traveling. Ouch. Champa didn't react, and slammed his head into the glass in front of him. Vados. Are you trying to murder me? Like Pa roared at Vados. Vados appeared in the box and immediately said, No, Mr. Champa, I have something to report to you. Why can't we go back and talk about it? Champa said angrily. Vados handed the scepter to Champa, and on the crystal, a planet appeared, which was actually similar to the Earth in the 7th universe. Lord Champa, look at this. Champa glanced at the Earth in the crystal ball with disapproval, and suddenly became unhappy. Isn't it the Earth? Don't mention the Earth to me. I will be angry when I mention it. Nima. He has summoned the strongest players in the universe. He didn't expect that even the people in a planet in the 7th universe can't beat him. Can he not be depressed? No, this is the Earth of the 6th universe. Vados shook his head. What do you mean? Champa said curiously. Vados explained, this is the Earth of our 6th universe. Now I don't know why, there are humans on the Earth again, and whether it is civilization or other, it is similar to the Earth in the 7th universe. Really? So doesn't it mean that we also have our own Earth? Champa was overjoyed and said excitedly. Yes, we can also eat very delicious food. Vados said with a slight smile. By the way, what's going on here? Champa looked puzzled, wondering why this happened. Vados thought for a while, and then said, it should be Lord Beerus who made a wish with the Super Dragon Ball to turn our Earth into theirs. Hearing this, Champa's eyes widened, and then he frowned. How is that possible? Swish. Suddenly, a huge golden ball flew past them, but soon disappeared at the end of the starry sky. That's a wishing ball. Shangpa stared at this scene dumbfounded, with some disbelief in his eyes. Vados said, Lord Shangpa, it should be like what I said. Shangpa was silent, and his heart was a little complicated. After a long time, he suddenly raised his head and smiled proudly. Huh. Nosy guy. Don't think I will thank him. The competition between us will not end so easily. Quote. Having said that, his tone was not so aggressive. Vados smiled knowingly, and then set off again. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. On the other hand, after the game with Universe 6, the friends all returned to Earth. Peaceful life begins again. Luya also moved to the house that Bulma gave him. To be honest, Luya has never thought about this kind of life. In his opinion, when he travels to the Dragon Ball world, he should be fighting or on the way to fight. Other than that, practice and practice. How can you live in such a comfortable house? But now it's true, Luya's tense nerves are gradually relaxed. If so, take a few days off. On the third day, Bulma issued a notice that there will be a celebration dinner at her house. All friends are invited to participate. Of course, their hero Luya was also invited. Luya thought about it, and then he knew that this day, it seemed to be the story of Goku and Monaka. So he went straight to Bulma's house. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Hello, Mr. Weiss. On Beerus, Whis is talking to Bulma. Iya, Miss Bulma, is there anything you need to do with me? Or, is there any new food coming out? Weiss asked expectantly. Inside the crystal ball, Bulma smiled slightly and said, Hey, that's it. I plan to hold a celebration banquet to celebrate the heroes who defeated the 6th universe, so I also want to invite you to come. Do you think it's convenient? Weiss smiled. Celebration banquet. It should be a party with a lot of food, right? Yes, it's like the first time you and Beerus-sama came to the banquet last time. This time the food is enough. Bulma tempted. Really? Have you eaten yet? Beerus rushed over from nowhere and said excitedly. Ah, of course. But Lord Beerus, you can bring Monaka along by the way. Bulma thought of something, said. Beerus' face stiffened, and then he quickly recovered. Ah. I understand. That's it, we'll go. After he finished speaking, he motioned to Weiss, who smiled slightly and said goodbye to Bulma. After the call ended, there was silence in the field. Beerus stepped back and forth, a little irritable. Weiss saw what he was thinking, and immediately said, Lord Beerus, if you want me to tell you, let's hire it. No, Beerus said in a deep voice. But, it's not the way to go on like this. Wukong will find out sooner or later. Weiss said faintly. No, if they confess, then Goku and the others will slack off in their cultivation. Although Vegeta already knows the truth, that kid Goku is greatly affected by this. If he is told that Monaka is a master faker, that would be a slump. That would be a bad performance for him. Besides, as a god, I've already lied. If Wukong knew about it, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be his target. Furthermore, if this matter reaches the ears of Lord Quanwang, wouldn't that be a bad news for me? Beerus snapped a lot of reasons. Weiss smiled. In the end, you are just for yourself. Beerus disapproved and said lightly, all in all, Goku must not let him know Monaka's identity. Therefore, we will not bring Monaka to this celebration. But Bulma asked Monaka to go by name. Weiss suddenly said. Idiot. Wouldn't he lie and say he's sick and can't come? Beerus said with a black line on his face. Oh yo, it seems that Sir Beerus, you are going farther and farther on the road of lying. Weiss smiled and said jokingly. Beerus' face darkened. Who am I doing this for? Who knows? However, the food of the earth is really looking forward to it. Weiss smiled. Beerus glanced at Whis speechlessly. You bastard.